we're good? Okay. All right, good morning.
Morning.
It's 9:05. It's on June 3rd, 2026. I'll now call the order. This meeting of the St. Louis Board of Police Commissioners. Lieutenant Tully, please call the roll.
Commissioner Saraceno?
Present.
Commissioner Jenkins-Gray?
Present.
Commissioner Artiga?
Present.
Commissioner McVeigh joining via Zoom? Here. Mayor Spencer?
Present.
Commissioner Brown?
Present.
All present, sir.
Thank you. If you're able to, please stand and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our first item on the agenda is the approval of our meeting minutes from our May 27, 2026 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes
Make a
from May
motion.
27?
Make a motion to approve the minutes for May
Motion.
27.
I'll second.
Second. Move to a second. Is there any discussion? No discussion. We'll call for a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. Okay. Motion carries to approve the minutes. Committee reports. We'll move to our committee reports. Labor and Management. Commissioner Brown, would you please provide the Labor and Management Committee report?
Yes, we haven't had a meeting. Our meeting was canceled last meeting, so our next meeting will be June 9th of 2026.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Our last meeting that we were scheduled for was canceled, so our next meeting will be June 9th.
Okay, so there was no labor management meeting this last week?
Since we
Okay.
spoke last, no.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Litigation report. Commissioner Ortega, would you please provide the Litigation Committee report?
Sure. Last Friday we met. We continue to work with the MOU and tightly walk that tight wire of these cases. We're getting good progress done. So we have another meeting on Friday. It's scheduled for Friday at 10 a.m.
Thank you, Commissioner Ortega. Any other questions for Commissioner Ortega regarding that report? Excuse me, Budget and Finance. Commissioner McVeigh, are you able to provide a report via Zoom?
Yes, since our last meeting, there's nothing new to report, and Lieutenant Tully would have in front of him the next scheduled budget meeting, but I have nothing new to report.
The next scheduled budget meeting is June 24th at 10 a.m.
Thank you. Any questions for Commissioner McVeigh? Seeing none, we'll move on. The board has one contract that we are considering today. Mr. Sullivan with the Budget and Finance is here to answer questions. We'll discuss the agreement, and then at the end, we'll consider a resolution authorizing the contract. Good morning, Mr. Sullivan. Thank you.
This is a contract with Regis. It's going to add enterprise mobile-based positioning for vehicles and enterprise mobile mapping to the Central Square project for the 911 center. The IT division had savings in their Regis account, so they were able to add this change order in.
How much was the savings?
It's 40. Oh, I don't know the total savings, but the contract's $40,000.
You can go through
Contract
it.
$40,000.
I can find out for you, sir.
Yeah, if you could, please provide the savings portion of that contract, or portion. Do you want to proceed to the resolution, or is there any questions for Mr. Sullivan? Seeing no questions, we'll move to the resolution.
This is
Yeah, Lieutenant Tully, please read.
This is resolution number 2026-23, whereas the St. Louis Board of Police Commissioners has determined it to be in the best interest of the board to adopt the following resolution, and the board has reviewed certain contracts, agreements, and memorandums of understanding as it is June 3rd, 2026 board meeting, and whereas the board has approved the agreements which have been attached hereto in Exhibit A and authorized the Chief of Police to execute the agreements on behalf of the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, and be it resolved, these agreements attached hereto and incorporated herein as Exhibit A are approved by the St. Louis Board of Police Commissioners, and be it further resolved that the Chief of Police shall be authorized to execute the agreements attached hereto and incorporated herein as Exhibit A.
Thank you, Lieutenant Tully. Do we have a motion to approve such contract.
Make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Ortega. Do we have a second to approve that contract?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Jenkins Gray. Have any discussion? Seeing no discussion, we'll move to a vote. Lieutenant Tully, please call the roll.
Commissioner Saraceno?
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins Gray?
Aye.
Commissioner Ortega?
Aye.
Commissioner McVeigh?
Aye.
Mayor Spencer?
Present.
4 ayes, 1 present, sir.
Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Sullivan.
Might as well just stay here.
Yeah, right, thank you. We'll move to our next agenda item, the resolution to increase annual salaries for command staff. Lieutenant Tully, could you please read the resolution for us? Thank you.
This is resolution number 2026-24. Whereas the St. Louis Board of Police Commissioners has determined to be in the best interest of the board to adopt the following resolution, and whereas the board previously adopted a salary increase for all St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department police officers and sergeants when entered into collective bargaining agreement for those recognized bargaining units, and whereas the board wishes to increase the salaries of all department command staff, including lieutenants, captains, majors, and lieutenant colonels, to improve recruitment and retention of those commissioned employees, as well as begin to resolve salary compression among commissioned officers. And whereas the board desires to show the value it places in the SLMPD employees by making these positions more market competitive. Be it resolved that the board approves a 16% salary increase for all department lieutenants, and be it further resolved the board approves an 18% salary increase for all department captains, and be it further resolved the board approves a 20% salary increase for all department majors, and be it further resolved the board approves a 22% salary increase for all department lieutenant colonels, and be it further resolved that salary increases described herein will be effective June 28th, 2026.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. So there's the resolution that was read. Is there a motion to approve such resolution for increase of annual salaries for our command staff?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner Brown. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Ortega. We'll move to discussion. Do we have discussion? Mayor Spencer?
Mr. President, how long has this been under consideration?
What been under consideration?
The resolution, this resolution provides for salary increases that are fairly significant, more than I've ever seen for any city employee. How long has the proposal to consider these raises been under consideration?
There has been discussion with the commanders and their representatives since January of when it was first brought up to committee, and such committees had a few meetings. I think Commissioner Brown was in that meeting. Commissioner Brown, do you have a recollection?
You know, I don't have I know there was an initial visit, and then we actually sat down. I want to say it was in March. Same thing with lieutenants. I think since we started, we've been talking about the compression issue here. And as we are in the process, I'm sure the chief will speak to it, of bringing more officers on. You know, the command staff lieutenants and up some of the officers are making more than they are. So the officers don't want to go into a higher rank, get paid less, and have more stuff. So this compression issue's been going for 10, 15 years where they haven't gotten paid. You know, again, we've talked about this from the beginning, not only paying the officers, but paying the people that will eventually train the officers and guide the officers. We have quite a few of them that could just walk out, could retire at this point in time. And so this has been talked about. We did not have a meeting since the last meeting, but this has been talked about in these meetings and in our private meetings for months.
Could I ask maybe a more specific question?
Yes.
These specific salary rate increases, the idea of having raises is something that everybody talks about generally. I mean, I think we could all say that we've talked about it for years. But the specifics here, the numbers, the specific salary rate increases, how long has this proposal, the particulars, these salary increases been contemplated?
Well, most of, I mean,
This particular proposal, I'm not talking about in general the idea that command staff get raises. Of course, that is something that has been discussed, whether there was a seriousness to it or specifics around it. I'm asking how long this specific proposal with these salary increases as outlined here in the resolution, how long it's been contemplated.
there's been much discussion regarding that through our budget processing. It is worked through the budget and finance department on many occasions in different scenarios in order to get the right fiscal note to it.
Is there a fiscal note associated with it? You mentioned a fiscal note.
Mr. Sullivan, do you have a fiscal note to that?
Yeah, so the command staff, the raises are gonna cost $1,408,500. And on top of that, the benefits are also gonna increase, and I just have it for total for civilians and policemen, the benefits will raise by $594,226.
Okay. Your fiscal note, is that on that yellow legal pad in front of you? Is that the fiscal note, Mr. Sullivan?
Yeah, yes. I mean,
That is the fiscal note?
Yeah,
Have you shared that with anyone?
just with Jennifer.
Okay. Does the fiscal note include the additional cost to the city of St. Louis?
No, it doesn't.
Are you aware, Mr. Sullivan, that we have something called pay parity with our fire department?
Yes.
Are you aware, Mr. Sullivan, that there are additional costs associated with any raises afforded to police officers that the city also has to incur?
Yes.
Are you aware, Mr. Sullivan, that when departments within a city government take actions that increase costs for other city departments, historically, typically, and under good governance, that department would coordinate with the other departments to figure out what the fiscal note associated with it to the paying body might be?
We're going to call in Jennifer with the Gravel
So
office.
if I could, I would like to ask people that work for the city in some way, Jennifer, with all due respect, I'm trying to understand what the cost, what due diligence was done leading up to this.
And the reason I'm asking for Tim to step aside and allow me to do that is because I've been part of these conversations with the commissioners, have spoken to, and
I'm sorry.
when we talk about the cost to the city, we are asking Mr. Sullivan and his team to do the cost to the department, and so that is all we've asked him to do as part of this conversation. And so those numbers that we've asked him to do and analyze are to fit within the budget that was already allocated to us by the city. And so when we talk about cost to other departments, that's not part of his analysis.
Okay, so Jennifer, you just mentioned that you've had conversations with other commissioners. Can you tell me what commissioners you've spoken to about this?
The two, especially that just talked to you about that, I was part of those meetings.
Can you name them, please, Jennifer?
President Saraceno and Commissioner Brown were part of those conversations with the lieutenants with regard to the CBAs. That's the committee, the group that the board and executive session named to work with the collective bargaining agreements.
Okay.
So we've had those conversations with the lieutenants, with the civilians, and then with the command staff. Now, the command staff does not have a bargaining unit, so we've been talking to them separately as part of the board's instruction with regard to collective bargaining agreements.
So Jennifer, this particular set of salary increases, when was this developed? These specific numbers?
Those specific numbers have been part of the variable analysis since March, the meeting in March that we talked about. So what we have done is we've worked with Tim Sullivan and his team to say, okay, if we do this percentage, what is the cost to the department? If we do this percentage, what is the cost to the department? And so with that analysis, we said, can we afford that within the budget allocation that's been provided to us by the city? So we worked on it for that time period to see, could we do the raise in fiscal year 26? Obviously, we're coming to the end of that, and that's not going to happen logistically. So that's why the proposal is here for fiscal year '27. And so that was the analysis that was done. So those specific numbers have been in play since March with a variety of other numbers, because I believe it's important that everyone do a variable analysis to complete the due diligence to make sure that it is a number that is workable within the budget.
So Jennifer, you've been working on these specific numbers since March.
Correct.
And as you just described, you believe that it's important that an analysis is done to ensure that the department can afford these raises. At any time, did you share these numbers with the city of St. Louis?
They're within our budget.
Jennifer, at any time, did you share these numbers with the city of St. Louis?
No, it was a financial conversation.
Jennifer, are you aware that when you provide raises to police officers, there is a resulting necessary raise for firefighters?
I'm aware that I would make the argument that that's not necessarily how that works. So that's a conversation, I believe, for another day.
No, it's not. It's a conversation for today, Jennifer, because there are resulting raises and costs to the city of St. Louis. Are you aware of something called parity, pay parity?
Yes, I'm aware of parity, and I'm aware that there are different sides to that conversation. And so what the board's responsibility is to make sure that the board has the funds to offer these raises to these individuals, and that is the analysis that we have done. That is the board's responsibility.
Jennifer, the city also has a budget to balance.
And we have stayed within the budget that was allocated for us.
Okay. Do you believe that the police department has zero responsibility to make aware the city of decisions that the board makes that will have direct and immediate implications on the city's budget? Do you think the city doesn't have the same need to do the same rigorous analysis to make sure that we can afford within our budget the raises that would be triggered based on the actions of the board?
Jennifer, can I ask a question as well on top of that? Did we certify our expenses as of February 25th or 28th? I can't remember the
Yes,
date.
we did at the end.
And at what number was that?
$250 million.
And within the budget that you had asked Mr. Sullivan to do the analysis, what number was that you asked him to make sure that
I
fit
asked
within
him
the
to do
budget? Both of the
I asked
budget
him
that
to-
the city had,
Right.
that the city had gave us
Right.
and the budget that we certified, correct?
Right.
So you did the analysis on both the city's budget and that of what we certified on February 25th?
Correct.
These raises, the analysis was done for both,
Correct.
just to make sure.
That's in contrast to what I believe she did.
I would like to ask the information to make sure that because that's the information that I was given, so I wanted to make sure that it was within the public
To
statement.
answer your question, Mayor, I
Sampson,
believe
I
it's the
thought I had
board's
the floor.
responsibility to have these conversations, and that in part is certainly your constituents is something that has to be taken into consideration, and you bring that to the table. What we bring to the table is the department analysis that we have done, and so the board can now consider your input with regard to the city impact, and that is something that the board has to decide. I cannot say that because that's not my decision to make.
Jennifer, I have asked repeatedly of the board that we consider the city and the cost. So you're telling me that this board did its due diligence over March, April, May, and now we're into June. And it was important to this board, to you, that a rigorous analysis was done to ensure that it can fit within the budget. You've also now said that you did not share any of these numbers with the city, and that the city will then therefore have zero opportunity to do any due diligence of its own to determine whether or not the resulting raises for the fire department can fit within its budget. And I can tell you definitively that as of right now, they cannot. Obviously, as you're probably well, and hopefully, if not, you should be well aware that the city is at the end of its budget process for the fiscal year 2027, and the budget as proposed by the Board of Aldermen. This body would know about that had they responded to the subpoena to come before the Budget Committee of the Board of Aldermen and answer questions or at least be educated by it. But that budget was set to be approved by the Board of E&A this afternoon in our E&A hearing. We've now had to postpone that because if this resolution passes this morning, our budget will be out of sync. And instead of being afforded the several months of opportunity to do due diligence that this body has given itself, it's given the city 36 hours to potentially prepare the implications on our budget. And while you've done the due diligence on the salary, at no point was there an inclusion of the resulting costs of benefits or the resulting costs to the fire department. And I'll also point out that while these your ranks here in the police department are considerable, there are some significant differences with the fire department. For example, the St. Louis Police Department has 55 lieutenants. And the fire, so when we look at fire captains, we have 114.
Who's we?
The city of St. Louis, who pays everyone's salary.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you said we, I just
The
was
city of
asking.
St. Louis
Has
114 fire
Fire
captains.
captains, thank you. I'm doing.
And we have to consider that. And so
At what
I
cost
will,
is a captain's in a fire department?
Chris, with
I'm
all
asking
due
a
respect,
question.
I don't have that information.
Okay,
We
well-
were really not given a lot of time to prepare for this.
But-
And in fact, I mean, we still haven't seen the fiscal note that's on Mr. Sullivan's yellow legal pad.
Okay.
The fiscal note that we were providing was the 2.3 million that was released as part of the packet that we provided to you. There is still obviously.
The only figures I got were the ones that I heard mentioned in the news the night that I got that packet.
They were provided as part of the information, and so that is the information that we have. We are adding in, we are just sharing with you what we believe the benefit, and when you say benefit, I mean retirement. That's not all benefits, that's the retirement, which we all know that issue is still being contested.
So do you believe that at this point, the city has done its due diligence to determine whether or not it can afford within its budget? Do you think 36 hours is enough time to do that, Jennifer?
That's not the board's responsibility. I understand that you have to put that input in, but I can't do the city's analysis. I don't have the city's analysis.
Do you think 36 hours would be enough time for a city for you to do a rigorous analysis? Would you consider that enough time?
I can't answer that question.
So would you have presented this to us with just 36 hours of rigorous consideration?
The consideration is for our department.
I know, I understand that. So you've done considerable more. So my point is that this, in my opinion, this board is acting with complete and utter disregard for the need of the city to have a balanced budget. And the results of these actions are so wildly disrespectful to the city's budget process and the need for us to do our own analysis and to have a balanced budget. It's so wildly disrespectful for every other department that the city has to operate.
Did you have a comment?
I just, for the
Commissioner
mayor, I had a question for the mayor. Taking into consideration all of your comments that you just made, Mayor, do you have a recommendation on then how you believe we need to move forward with regards to the city being allowed the amount of the time to go through and see how the impact is going to be the city? What is it that you would like to see come out of this?
Well, but what's most clear to me is that these types of decisions to be thrown at the board, to be thrown at the city with 36 hours notice, whether you like it or not, it's the city who pays everyone's salary. And we have to make these work within our, these numbers work. It's been my consistent request of the board, Mr. Graville and his law firm, as well as the commissioners, to work with the city. I've asked repeatedly that Mr. Paul Payne be involved in discussions. At no point did Jennifer, or anyone for that matter that I'm aware of, share this proposal with Mr. Payne. who has to make these numbers work, not just your department. This department, as Jennifer has stated over and over, is only looking at how this impacts your budget. Well, I have news for everyone here. The police department doesn't operate in a vacuum. Your department doesn't operate in a vacuum, and your budget doesn't operate in a vacuum. We're part of a city, and if we don't start working together and operating like we're a city, we're going to be pitting ourselves, the police department, against the city that it's pledged to serve.
I want to bring up a point real quick. We set up a budget working group while these discussions were going on. We've never received a response from the city. Commissioner Jenkins Gray headed it. As far as the rules of the working group, right? We went and had all these meetings to have these discussions. Correct, Commissioner Gray?
Mr. Gravel, do you have Mr. Payne's email? Do you have my email? At any time, did anyone think at all or take any actions to share any of these proposed raises with anyone from the city? We don't have to have a working
It
group.
being on the agenda is for this
For
discussion.
us to have one discussion, Paul Payne hasn't even seen
It's
this.
the decision of the board as far as whether you want to vote on this today, whether you want more time. I mean, that's the thing is like, the work is getting pushed up, and then it comes to you all for you all to discuss and make a decision on it. And if you all say, we need more time, you need more time. You know,
Mr. Gurley, thank you. Commissioner, is there something?
That's it. I just think
Do
it's
you have, and then I would like to call on a few people, but I would like to give you an opportunity.
Oh,
to
sure.
speak.
Mayor, with all due respect, I go back to having my question answered. And my question is, from your perspective, what do you see, what are you recommending that the next steps be to be able to take into consideration your concerns? What would you, yeah.
My recommendations remain my requests from the beginning of this board, which is to work constructively with the City of St. Louis and our budget director so that we can adequately do our due diligence to understand the implications of the things that this board is considering clearly in a vacuum. And if we could break down that silo and work again, once again, as we did under local control with the City of St. Louis, so that we can have adequate consideration of how the actions that this board has taken, as Jennifer stated, without communicating with the city. We need to end that. We need to work with the city. Mr. Gravel, you work for many other cities, the city of Chesterfield, and I don't think under any circumstance you would recommend that that city or the police department silo itself off and work without consideration of how that department and the budget impacts the rest of the city.
But I want to go
And I
back.
understand your charge here is just for the police department, and so, Commissioner, to answer your question, again, I state that it is in the best interest of the citizens of St. Louis as for this board to work with the city. My request remains to communicate with our budget director, with me as the commissioner who represents the city, and share these major considerations with the employer who pays everyone's salary at the end of the day.
But I'm going to go back to my question, and I'm going to maybe rephrase it in a different way. For this particular situation here, this resolution that we're trying to get through, what are your recommendations to address the concerns that you have brought forth today? What would you like to see happen? Would you like to suggest a motion to table this into the next meeting? What is it that you would like to see? Because I think we could all kind of go back and forth on the issues. Matter of fact, I think you and I probably agree that, you know, we should have received it, you know, more timely, to have more of an opportunity to go through the information. That didn't happen. So where do we go from here? How do we move forward with this particular resolution?
we should never be here where we are right now, being thrown a resolution where we have to consider, I have our budget director working day and night for the last 36 hours to try to understand what this will cost the city of St. Louis. I can't answer that question, Commissioner, because I don't know the implications of this. And so again, I go back to the process here is ridiculous. And we shouldn't be here. That said, we shouldn't be considering no resolution should go before a vote without involving the city of St. Louis in a meaningful way in the considerations of what impact it will have on our city's budget.
Can I call him the chief? And I have a couple questions for Jennifer as well, please, because I really need to get some clarity, because I think you've answered the question, but I don't think the question is being understood. Chief, it was brought up that there was 55 lieutenants. Can you verify the staffing levels of your command staff, please?
I believe it's 44.
44.
So we're down 11 lieutenants, just like we've treated in every other area in this police department. The span of control also reduces. So it's 44, it should be 7 captains, 7 majors, 4 lieutenant colonels, and 1 chief.
So just to clarify, 44 lieutenants, correct?
Correct.
Not 55?
Not 55.
There is, please verify the number of captains, 7?
7.
Thank you. And number of majors?
7.
Lieutenant colonels?
4.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I understood that. What, and stay up for just a second, I apologize because we're going to have to. Jennifer, again, these raises that are considered in this number, your analysis was done on these numbers?
On the current numbers or the budgeted numbers?
Budgeted numbers.
The budgeted numbers.
Okay, thank you. The budgeted numbers. So that's what these analysis for.
Right, so that would not be the current cost.
And it did fit it within the city's budget that they allocated for us, correct?
Yes, the budgeted number of command staff fits within the budget that the city allocated to us.
Allocated for us, and obviously would fit in within the budget that we certified.
Correct.
Thank you. Chief, if I can ask another question. So what, do you have the range of what a lieutenant makes and that of a captain and major and lieutenant colonel?
Ranges for what they're making now, or ranges compared?
Correct, and then we will ask what.
I'd have to take a look at the breakdown. I know it was like 121 for lieutenant colonels, which is about $60,000 less than a lieutenant colonel in Kansas City.
$60,000?
Close to $60,000 less.
Let's say for sake.
Kansas City is similar in size, under state control, somewhat same size city budget and everything else. And they take a percentage of it. They also take a percentage of the general revenue, and then they're able to put it into the police raises and everything. Something we're asking to be done today.
And what about captains and major?
And then it comes down, it cascades down, and obviously I think 150. I'm giving you estimates.
Yeah.
I don't have it right in front of me. About 115 for the majors, maybe 111, 112 for the captains. Then it comes down. Lieutenants go way below that, and then you got the sergeants and police officers. What has happened since I've been here, I've been part of 3 negotiations. I've also been part of 4 negotiations in the city of Wilmington. I've also been part of 3 to 4 negotiations in the city of Chicago with a $1.9 billion budget. What I can say to all these places, we correct the compression that has happened in some of these departments. We made sure we corrected to retain the experience, to retain everyone. And certainly the city of St. Louis has, I think they disinvested in our command staff as far as giving raises. They looked at and they compared them against other city employees, where I love all our city employees. I think they all got an important job, but you can't compare city employees against each other. You got to compare them against what is the compensation of other doing the same jobs. And the city has not done that. There's also something else with parity. It has been my contention in the last 3 contract talks, and Paul Payne's been part of those. This parity that's going on here has held the police department back from being competitive. I know it's a cost to the city. I remember even the last contract talks that our St. Louis Police Officers Association reduced our budget strength by 100 to try to make up for the raises. And then Paul Payne was part of these conversations. But when they were asking for a higher raise, but they had to reduce the raise because they said they have to give some to the fire department by law. Now, I love our firemen. I have family members that are firemen. We have two different types. We have inherent risks in our positions. But we also have other things that police officers do, interaction with the public, carrying a firearm, criminal and civil liability that we're exposed to more. And some of those things that we do, in other cities, they recognize that. I think what has to happen in the city is to make sure, to keep holding back the police department, we're doing a disservice to the city and the safety of the city. Because of, we just brought up the firemen. Mayor, you brought up the fire department today and what it's going to cost. At a certain point, the city, and I've made these recommendations to the last administration, I also made a recommendation to this administration. You have to take a look and negotiate with them. Have we ever negotiated with them first before the police department? I'm asking that question, Mayor. Have we negotiated with them?
Chief, as you know, I've been the mayor for exactly a little over 1 year, and we've been under state control since I've been mayor, and I haven't been afforded the opportunity as mayor to negotiate with anyone, with the police department. I haven't been a part of those conversations, so I can't answer that, and you well know that.
I can answer it, though.
Well, under this, this administration has not been afforded the opportunity because of state control.
We have only negotiated with the police department.
I
And
understand.
then the fire department doesn't have to give anything up, does not have to give any concessions, because they automatically get what the police department does. That's bad business.
I understand that, but
But
Chief,
the thing is, the city has the capability to address that. And they've done that in other cities.
Chief,
And
you
so
know
the
this
thing
is a
why
charter,
hold back
but
the
it's
police
not,
department?
but Chief, it is not a matter of negotiating with the fire department and the police department. It is a matter of a charter law. And so if there's a consideration to change that charter law, that needs to start with the Board of Aldermen, and that is something that could be considered, but it's not something that we're doing here today. What we're doing today, and what the police department has done, in my view, is disregarded that, and they ignored it. The city still has to pay for it, whether you like it or not. And so we are ignoring it, and we're just punting it to the city to deal with in the last 36 hours that they have for consideration of their budget, in complete disregard for the fact that that's still on the books, and there has been no action to take to address
I have been
it.
part of negotiations. I've went into the back room, and I've gone back of the envelope and questions, and Paul Payne's able to figure it out within 1 day. He's able to figure this out. 36 hours to be able to do that. He was able to figure out how the impact to that budget. Mayor, I've been part of this, and I've seen this, and we can talk about this and say we don't have enough time. There is enough time for Paul Payne to do it. He's very good at what he does, and he's able to figure out, as we negotiate percentages and every contract talk with, and I'm on the side of the city when I was doing that, and we talked, and Paul Payne was able to figure that out, and the impact to the city that it would have. And so the thing is, right now, this doesn't take long discussions. We're working within our budget, we were giving our budget, and then we're trying to make right for something that hasn't been right for a long time. And without public safety, this city doesn't have a chance. And all these other places, and Office of Violence Prevention, every city I've been in, I just came back from a funeral, from a statesman, Mayor Mike Pizicki. This guy was incredible. 8 years. He helped fix that city. He hired me as the first outside chief. Number one thing we did, we were down in personnel. We were one of the lowest paid. There was compression. And he says the only way to lift this city and everybody else's salaries is to make sure we get the police officers back up to budget strength. We pay the supervisors the right money compared to other municipalities, pay the police officers, and guess what happened to that city? Everybody got a raise. We know our city employees that work for the city are underpaid. We know that. We're underpaid. But you got to start with one place. Public safety lifts this whole city. We have an entertainment district with people asking for more police officers. How are we going to get them, Mayor? We have to start with the police. And when the revenue comes in, the businesses stay, then you know what? Everybody else's salaries start to go up. But if we go halfway on the police, we're going to start losing more police officers, and we can't make it up through sheriffs. We can't make it up through Office of Violence Prevention. And Office of Violence Prevention is only good when you have a fully budgeted police department, and I've been part of it. I've been part of it for 15 years. I'm a big proponent of it. But I hear elected officials saying the only reason crime is down is because of Office of Violence Prevention. That is just not true. I'll take every academic and bring them into this room and they'll say, you need a fully functioning police department, paid right, competitive, back up to budgeted strength, and it leads to the success of all other city units, including Office of Violence Prevention. And I've been part of this in 3 different administrations. I know that in my heart. That's why I've been brought here. And one of the things that I asked the last administration, my first ask from the last mayor, we have to start getting that pay up when we start. And we had a big raise in 2023. We had another one in 2025. We just had the board, thank you very much, for another 7% raise for these officers. But we're still not competitive. That's how far we've gone, Mayor.
If I could. So Chief, a few things here. And, you know, the compression issue, I understand. But to say we shortchanged last time, and you mentioned the previous mayor did give considerable raises to the police department, 7%. And at that time, I know because I carried the bill, we gave the lieutenants and above 9%. We started to try to address that. That hasn't been ignored, so I will have to give some credit where credit is due there. And I'll also say that while the budget director can do a back of the envelope and understand, largely speaking, the implications of this budget, we have an actual budget process that requires now cutting city departments by about between $1.5 and $2 million to accommodate the fire department raises. And that can't be done overnight. We're going to have to go through and figure out where in the city's budget that we had balanced as of yesterday morning. We were prepared to vote for it this afternoon. We now not only have to do a better than a back of the envelope yellow legal pad fiscal analysis, we have to actually go through a TO and figure out what this is going to cost. And we have to make the cuts to the other city departments to accommodate. And so that does take more than 36 hours to do.
Excuse me.
Go ahead, Chief.
Can I just finish?
Go ahead and finish, and then I need to
I've been involved in
move on to-
budgets in several different cities. This city is almost impossible at the end of the year to make sure that you can use all the money that's in your budget to move over. Then it's pulled back into the city, into the general revenue. There's a lot of things in this city that, wow, there's a lot of rules in this place that actually work against the budget that you put in place to try to get those raises, to try to buy other equipment, and the city takes that back, and then it's used for other projects. But what you also have to do, what we did, and well, we agreed to do this with the Police Officers Association, they came down 100 police officers to try to get raises. I know every city department is budgeted, but not at budgeted strength. Maybe there's a few. And so there is the money there, Mayor, that the Police Officers Association was willing to do to take us down, to bring us down to 100 people to make the raises so it didn't cost the city. Has the city done an audit to take a look at where we are at budgeted strength and where we are at actual strength? And there's your savings, Mayor. I know that money gets used for other projects, but certainly let's invest it back into the employees, and we can make up for this. Mayor, I know budgets. I've been part of city government for a very, very long time, and those are the places that you make. We do this every year, but to take it out and to say the police department is hurting the rest of the city, and you talk about dividing us. Well, conversation divides us, and it starts with the city. And this rhetoric, I'm telling you right now, the city employees will be lifted up if this board votes for these raises and we figure it out with Paul Payne on where some of that money can make up. And I like to say this, the city calls it in every administration and every city I've been in. That money that comes back in, it's not used by every department, is called pet projects. So let's take a look at those things where that money's going in, and let's make sure that it comes back into the city employees and the police department.
Chief, I still have the floor. I just want to finish this.
When was the last time-
the mayor-
when was the last time the lieutenants and above got?
We're going to get to that point.
It was in 2023, that was the raises we just
because we have,
discussed.
I'm going to hold the question, I'm going to call on, let me, the mayor has
Chief-
one last question to the chief
Chief,
of the floor.
with all due respect, this didn't start with the city. This started with the Board of Police Commissioners. And it is throwing our budget process into absolute chaos. This didn't start with the city. This division, this siloing, I have asked repeatedly that the city be part of these conversations. We could have been brought in March when Jennifer and the team started considering this specific proposal so we could be accommodating it in our budget process. That was not afforded to us. Those budget processes are complicated. And we do have a serious amount of due diligence. The Board of Aldermen's been meeting for 2 months, considering line by line, and we now have to reconfigure it because of this. It wasn't started by the city of St. Louis, this division. There is a failure to integrate the process of budgeting from this body and the city of St. Louis, and that is
Would the city
divisive.
with the raises that proposed today, would the city, if you feel that you knew about where the board has made this decision and a couple of days ago, where they've looked at things, would you have gone for these raises for our?
That's irrelevant. Are you suggesting, Chief, that you didn't include the city because we might not have been on board?
I'm not suggesting anything.
That
I'm
is-
suggesting that, what I'm suggesting is that having conversations with the city, we're trying to have conversations. We tried to have conversations, and at certain times, but sometimes these conversations did not go anywhere. There's lawsuits that are in place. There's legal things that are in place. And so, it's almost made that we have a divide. But we also have a city that's suing the police on that, well, the Board of Police Commissioners and the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, and vice versa. So there's a lot of legal things that are in the way.
The city is not suing the police department. I want to make that very clear. The
Well,
city is not suing the
who
police
represents the
department.
police department?
Okay, and the Board of Police Commissioners also had a lawsuit filed against the city. It goes both ways. My point is, there's never been a conversation opened about this particular proposal with the city. To say that the city hasn't responded is just not fair, and I don't believe is accurate. This particular proposal has never been shared with the city of St. Louis.
It was shared a couple of days ago.
Okay, 36 hours ago.
And
I
we
just
are,
gotta say, everybody was invited to those meetings. You were invited to those meetings back then. Your office was invited. I had to be there.
Those
Those
are open
meetings were
meetings.
posted. And we had meetings with the lieutenants, we had meetings with the command staff. Everybody was on that list.
And Mr. Commissioner, I asked repeatedly that we invite Mr. Paul Payne, and that was not happening. And so that was my ask. I can't, as mayor, be part of all these meetings. The volume of time is just unreasonable. So I asked that our staff, our budget staff, be part of it. That's particularly why.
I'm going to take this
Again,
back. Chief, I appreciate your report, but we're going to ask you to come back up in a second. I need some information I think I want more information, because we keep asking for information, but we're having philosophical discussions. We can't make decisions without data, without information, without hearing from the folks that these decisions we make on a day-to-day basis. When I took presidency of this board, my first and foremost was respect. The secondly was what decisions we make as a board will affect every person in this St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, and how that affects them. We have to take those things into consideration. We have to be accountable, ownership, and have a goal to deliver this. And these conversations become philosophical. They become all this. I need facts. I see Lieutenant Applegate, who's in the back of our meeting today. Lieutenant Applegate, I know, represents that of the lieutenants. Lieutenant Applegate, I'm going to ask you to share facts. Don't give this board hypotheticals. Give us the facts, because the chief brought it up, which he brought up about rhetoric, and the rhetoric that continues to be. But I will tell you, this board has been respectful to the city of St. Louis and to the aldermen and those who serve in the city. There has not been any name calling. There has not been any types of accusations of irresponsible behavior back to any elected official or the city of St. Louis workers. It has always been, in my comments within the media, is that we respect the city, we respect Mayor Spencer for the job she needs to do on a continuous basis and understand the challenges. But we have acted responsibly and respectfully. I will just start that, but Lieutenant Applegate, I appreciate you. I saw you in the back. Can you give us a little bit of information? I know the chief mentioned there's 44 lieutenants that you represent. Is that correct?
The current number is 38.
38.
Yes, sir.
Our budgeted number would be 44. Is that
Our
correct?
budgeted number is 55.
55. Okay, so 55, but we have 38 lieutenants currently.
We do, 6 of which have less than 20 years on. The rest are eligible to retirement. 14 have maxed out their pension. I'm in my 32nd year.
32 years for the St. Louis Metropolitan Police
Yes, sir. I
Department.
came on in
Thank you for your
July of
service.
1994. So the first thing I'd like to address with facts is the raise lieutenants received on February 23rd, 2025. This raise is a little deceptive because the pay matrix was cut from 30 years to 20 years. So I was a 30-year lieutenant at that time. That matrix went down to 20 years. So my actual raise was 2.72%, which comes out to $102 a pay period. It was not 9%. The last raise that police and sergeants made this past January 30th, 2026, which is very much deserved, the 7% raise, brought my sergeant who works for me, a 20-year sergeant who does an excellent job. He now makes $100,004 a year. I make $101,426 a year as a 32-year lieutenant. Our difference between our biweekly paychecks is $54.69. He is also eligible for overtime. He makes a lot more money than me. This isn't just about money. It starts with people that come out of the academy. Day one, a St. Louis County sergeant is promoted to lieutenant. They make $108,409. My maximum, which I'm maxed out, is $98,826. So a St. Louis County Day 1 lieutenant makes $9,583 more than the max salary of a St. Louis City Police lieutenant. These young coppers come out of the academy, and if they have talent and skill, what do you think they're going to do? Do you think they're going to stay here for that, or are they going to go to other departments that value their pay and their service? 32 years, I don't think anybody's going to stay past 20. So this compression affects the entire police department. It's not just, I want to raise. It's the longevity and success in keeping skilled policemen on this police department. I can give you multiple examples. Detective David Rudolph, one of the best homicides detectives I've ever seen, left at 20 years. Anthony Bettingheimer, excellent narcotics detective, worked for the DEA task force, retired at 20 years. I call it the brain drain. The best and the brightest are going to leave at 20 years. And now they don't even want to take a promotion test past the rank of sergeant. Why would they? They get a pay cut, they get more responsibility. They'll retain a sergeant's position, and at 20 years they'll retire and go somewhere else, collect a pension, and make a paycheck somewhere else. I'm fully vested in my pension. I could retire today at 75%, and believe me, I get a lot of job offers. I'm the commander of intelligence. I'm the president of the police leadership organization. I could leave, I could make a lot more money, but I'm committed to the St. Louis City Police Department and the citizens of St. Louis. But at some point in time, I got to consider my family and my longevity. So that's why this raise is so important. As I stated earlier, 6 lieutenants can't retire. Everybody else can. And then nobody's going to want to fill those positions because sergeants make more money. So this has to be fixed, and it needs to be fixed rapidly. Lieutenants call me every day. They've been treading water since this raise came to effect January 30th of this year for policemen and sergeants. This has to be addressed, and it has to be addressed now.
Thank you, Lieutenant Applegate. Does anybody else have any questions for Lieutenant Applegate?
I just had a couple.
Yes.
First of all, Lieutenant, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
When looking at these raises and the considerations here, especially when we're comparing across police departments, the chief mentioned our sister city in Kansas City and kind of that pay differential. Are you aware of, when you look at what we pay out, the benefits for our police officers and your pensions, for example, are extremely generous compared to other jurisdictions? Have we done an analysis as rigorous as looking at the pay scale of some of these benefits? In particular, the new requirement for lifetime health insurance, which carries a cost of about $20,000 a year, it's my understanding, was the back of the envelope cost per officer, which kind of makes in some of that differential. It certainly doesn't do much to recruit officers, I recognize, but it has an enormous cost to the city, which prevents us from doing some of the other things that a city might otherwise do.
It's interesting you point out the lifetime medical. is a new thing, because when I was hired in July of 1994, I was guaranteed free medical for the rest of my life if I did 20 years. That was pulled back a long time ago, and where they charge us a fee for our insurance. But for that analysis, when I came on, it was free. So to me, that's not a new benefit. That's just a rightful benefit that was returned to us, and a promise it was given me when I was hired.
Sure. Well, no, you're right. It was grandfathered in. And when the state law making state control, putting a state-controlled board back in place, that was reinstated, you're right. But it was reinstated for everybody hired in between. My point in mentioning it is it's a benefit that I'm only aware of the city of St. Louis having. I think we're the only police department to carry that. It's a huge cost, and it's something that isn't really often considered in the benefits package for police officers themselves, even though there's a huge cost to it. I guess my point is our benefits package is very, very, very generous. I think many officers recognize and appreciate that, and it hasn't been something this board has taken a look at when we're talking about the full compensation, because this board has no responsibility to pay for it. It just comes out of the city's budget regardless of cost, and I caution us because it is such an enormous cost, and it is a great benefit, and
I would just like to counter.
Yes, please, go ahead, Lieutenant.
If you look at our attrition rates and our failure to provide robust academy classes, I would say that our great benefit plan, although it is great, is not, a 22-year-old isn't going to walk through the door and say, oh man, look at what I'm going to get in 35 years when I retire. They're leaving for other departments because they have children and they have families, and they gotta provide.
Lieutenant Applegate, the mayor brought up this lifetime benefit. How many years of service do you need to get to 20?
The new rule 20.
The new rule is 20. Okay, so it's obviously not because of the attrition we've had in the ranks prior to that. It's not, obviously. Did you have anything to do with it, or did anybody of creating that lifetime benefit package? Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Okay, then,
Just for the record, to correct the record, one thing, Mayor, that I think needs to be corrected is that this board in previous conversations acknowledged that we would take a look at the benefits to make corrections where we could based off of, environment, things changing and the benefits being maybe too lucrative. So we did say that we were going to go in and do that analysis and look at it. It hasn't been done yet, but this board did acknowledge that.
And also, Mayor Spencer serves on the board and can bring recommendations to us because of the knowledge that she has within the city that could help us make decisions.
Yes,
And
we're
we're
open
making
to
that.
that.
So
Yes.
that we're open to that
We're open to
100%,
that.
and that's again another conversation, but it doesn't have, does anybody else?
So my recommendation, though, and it remains, and I've talked to the POA about this, and I've talked to many of you, I've mentioned this in closed session, that we should be looking at these things as a package. And so doing raises without taking a look at that, I think, does a real disservice to the negotiation there. I'll also say, and thank you, Lieutenant, for pointing out that you're right. New recruits aren't looking at benefits. They're not asking what is going to be coming to me 30 years from now. They're looking at that salary right now. And my contention, especially when you look at it, that the cost of providing those benefits is so huge. And for example, just to give you some context, right? Our cost per officer for the pension is about 53% of the salary. It's huge. That's just one benefit, by the way, the pension. When you look at St. Louis County, it's about 20%. That's a huge difference, and you're right, those county officers get paid a lot more, and they've kind of made some of that shift, and this board, in giving raises without having some of those other meaningful conversations about compensation holistically, is doing a huge disservice to that conversation that needs to happen so that we can have a fiscally responsible way of fully funding and fully staffing a police department. And if that's our intention, is to be able to recruit, we have to recognize that at the end of the day, the city has a finite amount of income. We have a finite revenue stream, and we are losing population. And Chief, you're right, having safe communities and having a safe city is key to growing population. There's a myriad of ways that we do that. In order to have safe communities, we not only need the Office of Violence Prevention and a fully staffed police department, but we have to have robust parks. parks, and we have to have streets that people can drive and ride a bicycle on, and we have to have a whole host of other services that we're going to be defunding if we do not handle this appropriately and consider the police department within the departments that the city has to provide services for its residents with.
So I do have, so I want to put some things in perspective here, okay? And the thing that I want to put in perspective is the reason why, the core reason why we are doing this, or making a proposal. But there hasn't been a vote yet, so we don't know what we're going to do. But this problem did not just start. This has been in place and going on for 3 to 4 years with our command staff. They have been overlooked with raises when other commissioned and non-commissioned officers were given raises. That created a significant compression issue. And so I'm speaking to you right now from an HR perspective, because this is what I've done for 30 years or more. When an organization is faced with compression issues, the way in which this department is faced with compression issues, we're going to end up losing staff right away. As it was mentioned, we already have the majority of our lieutenants that can retire now at 20 years and go find another job and have another career and retire from that career. We can't afford to risk that. So we have to come up with some way to address the compression issues that exist. That is not the fault of our command staff that this has happened. And so we have a responsibility, a governance responsibility, to ensure that this is taken care of. Now, I'm not necessarily saying I agree with the way in which this was rolled out and the amount of time that was given to everyone. I received it at the same time you did, Mayor. The commissioners received the packet at the same time. At the same time. I had no idea prior to this. I'm not saying that that was the best process or approach to this, but it is an issue that needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed as soon as possible. Now, one of the things that I want to provide some clarity around also is the way the compensation works within the city. It was mentioned earlier that this is the first time in the history of the city that we've given double-digit raises. That's not true. Because within the compensation ordinance, it does allow for double-digit increases when it comes to retention issues, when it comes to market equity, when it comes to those types of things. Maybe it has not been done with such a large group, but the allowance within the compensation ordinance does allow for double-digit increases to occur. The other thing within the city, that it has been a practice that a supervisor should not make less than 10% above, that a supervisor should make a minimum of 10% above what their subordinates make. That's another issue that we have that must be dealt with. Again, I think the issue is these types of situations were handled on an individual basis, a couple of people at a time, and we're now having to go in and address it for an entire department, so it looks like it's out of order. But it's not out of order. It is common compensation practices for organizations to take a look at internal compression issues, market equity. This is not new HR practice. It's common. So in my opinion, the issue that we really have right now is how does the city, right, compensate for the fact that they have the parity issue? And I believe that that is the real issue that's on the table, because I don't believe that anybody would disagree that our officers deserve the increases for the reasons that I just stated, that they deserve the increases that we're proposing.
So Commissioner, that was a good point, because it was brought up that there's 104 captains in the fire department, and this board is not charged with regards to the fire department and its staffing and their ranks. What I'm looking at here is 62 currently on our books of command staff. Chief, can you give us a quick number of officers? Yeah, thank you, Lieutenant. A quick number of officers that 62, a total of 62 commanders command, if that's acceptable.
Yeah, and I apologize, and thank you, Lieutenant, on giving the number of actual strength. I pulled a report from a few days ago. I have the report in front of me now. 1 police commissioner, 4 lieutenant colonels, 7 majors, 7 captains. We have, John's telling me it's 38 lieutenants. I have 39. on it was pulled today, so that paperwork might still be in the process. So when you talk about command staff, lieutenants are the second-line supervisors that are out there, very important to keeping things. So when we say command staff, I want to be very careful with the bargaining unit. So 39 lieutenants, and then you have 1, 5, 7, 12, 19 in the command staff. And if you want to include lieutenants, you can add that to, I believe that would be 58, if I'm looking at my numbers right, 19. I got 39. So 58, 57 at this point right now. And then that'll stay static until I do promotion, so I know where that number stays. And depending on who might be leaving, where I think Lieutenant Applegate hit on how many people can leave and how many people above the lieutenant and above can leave. And we didn't even include what its overall police officers. Right now, with our police trainees, the ones that just got out, we're still including them as 38, but it's 857 minus 38 that are fully trained police officers. And then over 200 right now, what I understand, are eligible of retirement as of today.
Thank you, Chief. Very good. And then there, like, okay, thank you. I don't, any other questions? Anybody have any questions for the Chief? It looks like we've lost Commissioner Gray. I don't know if we should wait. And I think I have a couple more questions for Jennifer and even Mr. Sullivan to be able to help us answer. Chief, thank you. I know you'll be back up here with regards to the report finding out, but I want to. I think probably the best interest to wait for.
Can I ask Mr. Sullivan a couple more questions about just
I
the
would like
process?
I'd like for all the commissioners to be here so the information is shared with everybody. Is she, okay. Okay. Commissioner, Mayor Spencer is going to ask a couple more questions. I wanted to wait until you got back in the room.
Thank you.
Yes, Mayor.
Mr. Sullivan, did you prepare the fiscal note that you've referenced on this resolution?
Yes.
Who was involved and can you state your position just for my?
Yeah, I'm an auditor. I'm filling in for Dave Daniels, who's out on extended leave, so I'm just filling in for him. It was myself, Lou McCaskill, who's my supervisor, and Jennifer and Nate Burns from the Greville Law Firm that all helped out.
Okay, and so was there any members of the budget division and the police department involved?
No, I don't think so, no.
Okay. And there was was there any consultation with the City of St. Louis's budget department?
No.
Okay.
And Jennifer, because that keeps being brought up, those analysis, could you please repeat that those analysis, again, were done with what numbers?
Yeah, let me clarify that. While we've been working on trying to look at these variable percentages, we've been working for months on the reconciliation, the end-of-year reconciliation with the comptroller's office. We've been working literally hand in hand with the comptroller's office to figure out what the end-of-year reconciliation looks like, and then to figure out what then is going to, what 27 is going to look like. So while we may not have been in touch with the budget department, we've been working very closely to figure out those final numbers to see how this is all going to work out with the comptroller's office.
We've received good collaborative work
Yes,
with
very much.
regards to the
Yes.
comptroller's office.
Yes,
Do you
that
feel
was
that you've been
yes.
able to get the numbers necessary that sometimes we were having a hard time getting? A little better than previously?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll just point out that the previous resolution that this board considered that was of financial importance was a resolution considering $5.2 million worth of transfers. The overwhelming majority of those, as I pointed out then and will point out again today, were not legal transfers. So the due diligence on that issue was really lacking in my view. And I bring that up because it really poses grave concerns about the due diligence involved. I, again, haven't seen the fiscal note. Mr. Sullivan has it on a yellow legal pad. I'd love to see it.
Mayor, my
Share-
file got too sorry to
Okay.
interrupt you. My file got corrupted. I couldn't, I just did it all by hand this morning. I couldn't access my file.
And
I'm sorry.
let me clarify,
Right,
we
I
did not do it
understand.
all this morning. That was one additional question that we asked him to calculate this morning. This is not a fly-by-night analysis.
It feels like a fly-by-night analysis to
It's
me,
not.
considering I'm just seeing it. And out of, if we really truly were respecting of the city and the cost of the city, again, we would include the city in these conversations. So for that, for these reasons, I would like to make a motion that we table this until the city can at least understand what the cost to the city will be of this resolution.
So,
And for failure to have a process that included the city from the beginning.
Jennifer, one quick question, or Mr. Sullivan, one quick question. When the city funds the department,
At the beginning of the fiscal
at the
year.
beginning of the fiscal year, which we were not in place at that time correct? And, all right, so now in the time we did what the House bill required us to do, is apply for or certify our expenses, correct?
Correct.
But you're still using your numbers based on what the city, which, if you don't mind, please give us that number.
And that's the personnel number that we're talking about, specifically, like if you want to parse the personnel and the non-personnel, which this is what we've been working with the
Yeah.
comptroller on.
So the command staff salaries increase is gonna cost $1,408,500. And the total benefits for both civilians and commission is gonna be $594,226.
So you did include the benefits.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought earlier.
It's separate than what was on
And the
this.
2.3,
Yeah,
because
it's
that's.
in addition.
Okay,
that's the point that's still-
but the mayor did ask it, but it was put
It's
in.
closer to
you did-
$2.9 million when
Okay.
you include the benefits and the salary.
But that's for civilian, let me clarify, that's for civilian and
Yeah.
command staff, that is not just for command staff. So the separate resolution for civilians, which includes hundreds of employees, is with regard to, is within that $500,000 number. So this is much less of it is the command staff, which is the resolution at issue right now.
But we still haven't yet to be undetermined amount of additional funding for the fire department, which the city will necessarily have to fund and figure out in the next couple of days to accommodate. So really affording the city almost no due diligence period to do the work that the city resultingly has to do.
So Commissioner, were you asking about the money that is, what is left with regard to the end of year reconciliation?
Yeah, please share
I'm sorry,
that.
I misunderstood.
That's okay.
There's around $5 million in personnel that'll be left, and about $3 million in non-personnel expenses left at the end of the fiscal year.
That is not encumbered, so that does not apply to any of the requested transfers previously.
Okay, yeah. And why is that?
Why is the money left over?
Yeah.
The $5 million in personnel would be,
It's mostly due to staffing levels for policemen. We're down on staffing, so the benefits are gonna be lower than we budgeted for in the salaries.
How
so that
hard,
money would be returned to the city at the end of this month because of staffing levels on our side.
about $8 million returned
$8
back to the
million
city
will be
within the
returned.
St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department's budget.
To the city.
And how many hours have you put into this? How many responsible hours have you put into this analyst that you analyzed within our budget?
Yeah. Sir, I don't even know. It's been.
So not a few hours.
No, it's been at
but
least 4 or 5 every day. I mean,
4 or 5 every day.
Well, you're going and looking.
So you've been responsible.
Yeah, you're keeping track of the expenses that are paid every day, and you're taking it off that bottom line number and just going through.
Continuation, thank
But
you.
you didn't
You've been
think the city needed to do the reciprocal amount of
Within
due
the budget.
diligence within our budget? I mean, you, just counting how many hours you've spent, and the complete disregard for the cities need to do the same. Thank
Well, part
you.
of what he's doing is for the reconciliation for the end of the year. And
We have a
that's
reconciliation as well,
They do their
Jennifer.
reconciliation, and we do ours, and so what we're trying to do is figure out trying to figure out what have we spent, and then what would be left over. And so every department has that responsibility, and that was ours, and so that is what he's been working on, is to reconcile that on a day-to-day basis, as well as then figure out the analysis of what can be used going forward.
Okay.
So,
Yes, Commissioner?
So this question is for the mayor. Not really a question, let me make a statement, then I have a question for the mayor. So I'm drawing a conclusion that based off of this meeting and based off of prior media releases, et cetera, Mayor, that you support raises. Is that a correct assumption? Because I know you called for us to give raises to the park rangers and a number of people, and so we're trying to begin to address all of those issues. So am I drawing the right conclusion that you overall, you do support raises for SLMPD, for the civilians, and for the command staff?
Commissioner, I do support raises.
Okay.
But let me be clear, and I've been clear about this. They have to be taken in context. The process that has been utilized here is just so dismissive and just absolutely dismisses the city entirely. It also dismisses the issue that I mentioned earlier, which is that our benefits package, at least according to the pensions, are about more than doubled in St. Louis County. There really needs to be a holistic approach here, because at the end of the day, this board, as Jennifer has pointed out, has no consideration for what the implications of the fire department parity are.
Please don't state that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty correct. Thank you.
Okay, well, Jennifer, you mentioned that that's not your responsibility and you haven't taken a look at it.
Is that
And we
factual?
haven't been
It's
able.
not her responsibility.
Okay, well, there's so no consideration has been made about it. I don't think that's a value statement.
That's what this conversation.
There's no consideration about those other pieces. And the process is so wildly flawed and so detrimental to the city that it's impossible for me to answer that question in a vacuum. I do believe that we should be paying and compensating all of our city workforce, including our police department. And as the lieutenant pointed out, these are dangerous jobs. You know, I didn't sign up to be a police officer. I can't imagine running into the face of danger. The work that our officers do daily is imperative to our city's success. It's dangerous, it's appreciated. You know, when I was first elected here in this position, you know, I watched many of our officers during the tornado do truly heroic work. I commend our police department. I used to work hand in hand with our chief before this whole thing has just become a massive division between an important department and the city of St. Louis. And it's absolutely detrimental to our citizens. The process here is absolutely different than it would be under local control and in a collaborative spirit. And so it's impossible for me, of course, I support raises for our city staff. Of course I support that. They cannot be handled in a vacuum like they're being handled here today. They cannot be handled without consideration of other compensatory components like they're being considered here today. And I think that's a failure to provide fiscal solvency to our city and our residents and the region and as a whole.
So you had a question. Do you have another comment on that?
No, not at
So
this time.
I would say that this discussion would not be considered to be in a vacuum.
We didn't include the city. It's been pointed out numerous times that it was not
It's-
included, did not include the city. And it did happen in a vacuum. There's no other way to put it.
Well, I'll put it this way. It hasn't happened in a vacuum because every labor management meeting, every budget finance meeting, every litigation meeting is open to that of the public, and any person can attend within yourself as well, or a representative from your department.
I've
to
asked for
attend.
a heads up for all these cities from day one.
Those notices are posted, they're posted just like everybody else's notice is posted. None of this, as much as it's trying to be said that it's in a vacuum, has been in a vacuum. Every notice by our governance is we have to, Lieutenant Tully, do you post the meeting agenda?
Okay.
Or not just, did you post the meeting dates?
I do, sir.
For all meetings?
Commissioner Jenkins-Great mentioned this is the first time she's seen these numbers, was when we got them 2 days ago. This absolutely is happening within a vacuum. There's no other way to say it. I've spoken to many members of the business community. The public has never seen these. They're floored by this, and many of them share the perspective that I do, that if you all were running your businesses the way that, and business decisions the way that we're handling this decisions, the businesses would all be bankrupt. This is no way to run a department this size and to handle matters, fiscal matters of this importance.
So Mayor, in order to move forward with this resolution, What is it that you believe needs to happen,
We need
needs
to
to
go back in
accomplish?
time into March and to figure out how this would impact the city and to work collaboratively with the city of St. Louis. And unfortunately, Commissioner, that's not possible because that was done without the city of St. Louis. So barring that, I would say at the very least, we owe the city the opportunity to do the due diligence on what this would cost the city of St. Louis, who pays the tab.
Do you have anything else to add?
Nope.
Commissioner? We have a motion that was made.
If I could just make a comment parliamentarily, the motion was made for the city to have enough time to do it. We have to do a motion for a date certain under
No,
Robert's rule.
The original motion was made
I
to
got it.
pass the
Okay.
resolution.
Right. And then there was an
It was-
amendment.
it
That-
was a
The
motion.
mayor's motion would be considered an amendment.
I would like that.
But it's not been seconded,
Okay.
but I think,
Let's pull this back. The original motion that's on the table was Commissioner Brown motion to approve it. I think Commissioner Ortega seconded. We've gone into discussion. I think Commissioner Sonia Jenkins Gray has asked if there's any recommendations the mayor may have. Let's leave it on the floor here, or not leave it on the floor, but if there is, then I'd like to hear it.
Well, as I mentioned, barring the ability to go back in time and adequately go through a process that adequately considers and includes the city of St. Louis, considering we don't have a time machine as much as I would enjoy riding on one from time to time. Barring that, my recommendation and my request is that we give the city an adequate amount of time to do its due diligence, recognizing, as Jennifer and Mr. Sullivan have pointed out, that they've spent so many hours that Mr. Sullivan can't even count them doing the due diligence on their end. We could at least, at the very least, afford the city of St. Louis some time to do its due diligence to understand the implications on our budget.
Okay, so is there a direction to that?
well, I think what you, might I make a suggestion that somebody could consider a motion to postpone this until the next meeting, which is what date, Colin?
June 17th.
To June 17th.
I can't confirm that Mr. Payne would be able to do his due diligence by then, but I would suggest that we, because I just frankly haven't been able to communicate with him about what would be involved in that. But I do think it's important that we understand how this fits into our city's budget. I do recognize the city has to have its budget done by the end of this year, so I understand Mr. Payne is working doggedly as quickly as humanly possible with his department of 3 to figure out what this would cost the city and to ensure that we are preparing we would have to prepare necessary cuts to city budgets to accommodate the resulting.
I just want to know what the motion, I want to know what, yes,
So this is within the budget that we had, right? These numbers that we're talking
it's
about.
been, yes, it's
Yes.
been.
And when
it's
the
been-
dust settles, $8 million is going back to the city.
These raises will be for fiscal '27 budget year, the next budget year.
Starting July 1.
But there's $8 million that's going back to the city.
By charter, those monies are divided into 2 pots. I don't know where the fund money, fund project Mr. Sullivan's talking about, because by charter and by ordinance, any monies unspent are divided into 2 buckets. Half of it goes to the capital fund and half of it goes to our city's reserve fund. Those are what unspent fund balances
So
reserved
$4 million
to.
will go to the reserve fund, that's what you're telling me.
I
And I'm
don't have the
using round
numbers.
numbers.
I don't have, I
Yeah,
haven't
that's
seen the
just
numbers.
because
So
Mr.
$4 million's gonna go to the reserve fund.
I had seen a different set of
That would more than well
projections.
cover any, okay.
I had not seen those projections, Mr. Brown.
I do have a question just for perspective for me, for the mayor, when we're talking about the funds. So within, the city on average carries approximately 800 to 1,000 vacancies every year.
800 to 1,000 vacancies.
Yeah, positions that are not filled, that are carried in the budget.
Well, as you well know, and we've talked about this in our budget and Public Employees Committee when I used to chair it, Most of those employee positions are accounted for in what's called a negative accounting system, so they're not really included in the budget, just in the same way the police department. So the police department has a budgeted strength of 1,100 officers, but recognizing that many of those positions have been vacant for many years, there's a negative accounting put in to account for the fact that they're going to be vacant for the next fiscal year. So those are not funded, and the money doesn't sit there and revert back. They're already the vacancies are already accounted for in the negative accounting system.
Okay, so then you carry vacancies that we know that are gonna be vacant, but.
So for example, you would fund a department, say, take the police department, just as an example. You say, in order to fund 1,100 police officers would cost $250,000 in salary, but I'm going to account for the fact that there's going to be 300 vacant positions, so I'm going to put a negative line item in the accounting to account for 300 times the $250,000. On average, it costs us per officer. And so I would put in a negative $50 million or whatever that equates. So then the budget would actually be 250 minus the 50. There's a negative accounting built into every department. The police department is no different, and the police department does have a negative accounting for it to account for what is proposed to be the vacant positions.
President Saraceno, I want to clarify something. We're well aware of the negative accounting system, but in the board bill certified, the board representatives that worked on that made.
495?
No, in this board's resolution. This board made a conscious decision not to do a negative accounting system in the board bill. It certified that was seen as not being transparent, and how many people are we going to try to offer? How can we try to get to that? So I know that's aware, but based on what you said, Mayor, I want to make sure we make that distinction that in what the board certified, they made a conscious decision not to implement a negative accounting system to say we're going to try to get to the strength.
So to clarify that for being accountable and being very, we actually, although we have a 1,100 budgeted strength department, we are actually budgeting in this budget at a number of 900 or 950, an actual number.
Yeah, which is not what was
Which is
done.
not how that's been in practice before.
Well, the negative count, because you are budgeting for a strength and then you're budgeting for an attrition rate, which basically shrinks your budgeted strength significantly, where you really actually don't have that budgeted strength. So you say we're budgeted strength of 1,100. The budget for 26, which this board did not approve or certify, has that negative accounting system. And there was a decision made to say we're going to budget for the number we want to be. We don't want to budget for the number that we think we're going to be. And I just want to make that correction because that was part of the consideration in the process was we don't want to budget for the negative because.
Well, to be direct though, you're right, that is the budget that was certified by this board, but Commissioner Jenkins-Gray's question was about the other city departments, and we do have to account for the negative accounting or we wouldn't have a balanced budget.
That was in response to saying the police department's budget that was that way too. And I just wanted to clarify that was not the way this board certified.
But I'll just finish my statement, Mr. Gravel, because the budget as the city is proposing for the police department does include that. So I just wanted to clarify that, yes, the city's budget does also include the negative accounting. It does that for every department, and the budget under consideration for the city of St. Louis for the police department does include that. And what that allows you to do is for a department like the police department has a vacancy rate of commissioned officers around 30%, something around that figure is what I've always historically kind of understood. It's around the same as the average for all city departments. They happen to be the same, around the same. My point is that those vacancies are accounted for. If we had a budgeted strength for all city departments that included all those vacancies, we would always end each budget year with hundreds of millions of dollars of unspent money, and that would be a really bad way to budget for the year. So what this allowed us to do is allowed us to keep the budgeted strength for the police department at 1,100 on the books, so that if that attrition rate, while it's slowing, were to turn around and we could start to get back up to budgeted strength, we wouldn't have to increase the number of budgeted strength. You keep it the same, recognizing we're probably going to have a lot of vacancies and allow us to not have to be in the position of giving money back. So the negative accounting is fairly helpful.
Based on the city's math, do you know how many officers the city budgeted for the department this year? 900 again?
I don't have that in front of me, I'm sorry, but I do.
The city did not
It's gonna-
budget for the full 1,100.
Well, the city kept that 1,100, around that figure. I don't want to,
But then you back it out.
correct. We do that for every department.
I
Mr.
understand that, but
You're
it's
right.
they're not
Is
budgeted.
is that consistent with how we did our budget?
No,
No,
we budgeted for
and
100.
unfortunate, but it has to be consistent on how, if we are to work collaboratively, if the city did do a budget in their previous, the way they've been doing it under local control for the number of years it's not consistent to that of what we are required to do and how we are doing business. So that's an inconsistency of how that
Well,
works.
it's necessary expenses, and I think the argument would be made that the expectation that the department would be able to fill 220 positions for the fiscal year does seem fairly unlikely. And so, given that, recognizing that there will probably be vacancies between the number of hired officers and the 1,100 number, I think it makes budgetary sense to include some of those so that you don't have to bring that 1,100 down. You keep that budgeted strength up as a benchmark, as what you agree upon as the goal, but recognizing that you're not going to get there in the upcoming fiscal year. So we do that for our other departments. But Commissioner Jenkins Gray was going down a different path, asking about the vacancies in other city departments, and some of them are different, as you know, than others. It just so happens that the average across city departments is around 30%.
Thank you.
Okay, so, this has been good, healthy conversation, I appreciate it. We, again, I'll move back. I have a motion by Commissioner Brown to approve the resolution, second by Commissioner Ortega. There's been discussion. Is there and Commissioner Sonia Jenkins Gray asked for clarification from the mayor, is there another motion that would be presented?
I presented the motion to table this until the city is able to do its due diligence on the impact on the city's budget.
Does we have a motion from the mayor? I understand. I would ask for a second, but we would have discussion. Is that okay? Or would you want
Or
to-
it could die.
'Cause
I think
yeah.
the same thing could be achieved at parliamentary. I think it's out of order. You have to request for a date certain.
Yeah, I
Or
would-
if you
that
just
was-
do an indefinite date, it means it's
Right.
killed altogether, and that
Correct.
doesn't sound like the intent of this board.
Yeah, I would not, I would ask that you have a date that, specific to that motion.
I believe we've handled other matters differently, but with that in mind, at the very least, I would table it for this until the next meeting.
So there's a motion on the table by the mayor to table this resolution to June 17th, based on the mayor saying next meeting, which that's our next board meeting. Is that correct, Mayor? I want to make sure that's correct.
Correct.
I'm correct that the meeting's June 17th?
Correct.
I am correct, okay. So we have that motion by the mayor. Is there-
June 17th.
June 17th. Is there a second to that motion? Do we have a second to the motion of tabling it to June?
I'll second it.
You're going to second the motion to table it to June 17th. Let's move, can we move to discussion now with regards to our procedures? Any further discussion? Any commissioners have an issue with this being tabled to June 17th? And if Commissioner Brown? I'm sorry, Commissioner McVeigh, you're on the call. Do you have any discussions or questions concerning that date?
I do not.
Commissioner Ortega, do you have any questions or concerns? No. I do have a concern with regards to timing. So the June 17th date comes and potentially it gets tabled again. We are under, I heard Lieutenant Applegate say that the timing is now. That's concerning to me. I hope we do, if we do vote to table this to June 17th, that matter is that we have a result on that meeting. And that meeting carries that it would be, because our intentions are to implement those raises by the first of the fiscal year. So I do have that concern.
So, again, for clarity's sake, I hear the date of July 1st as an effective date, but July 1st is in the middle of a week and in the middle of a pay period. So the effective date, I think we made the adjustment in the resolution, it would be June 28th. June 28th.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
And so I agree with you, President, that we stick to that effective date and that June 17th, that we do reach an agreement and we vote on the resolution as is. Yeah, it's kind of what I'm thinking. I think that and I think this is important for the command staff and for the employees of the department to understand that this really isn't about whether the raises are deserved or not. There is no question that these raises are deserved. It's a matter now of making sure that we have our I's dotted and our T's crossed with the process and how we arrived at the decision that we've arrived at, so that we're all protected. I think is what's most important from a governance and compliance standpoint strictly. And so for me, that's why I believe, Mayor, and I support, the delay until the 17th, but no later than the 17th.
Okay. To carry that on, that vote will take place on the 17th.
You can take a vote on the matter.
And we're going to take a vote towards what current motion, the current motion on the table is. I think we've had discussion, we've had plenty of discussion.
Just for Robert's Rule standpoint,
Yes.
you have to vote on the amendment to see if the amendment passes, and then vote on the underlying motion.
I
Because
don't
the
have-
amendment blocks out the,
I don't have an amendment, Mr. Graville.
Just vote for the motion to
Okay.
lay on the table and then not have to vote.
okay, all right.
So
go ahead,
voting on the
proceed.
motion that this is tabled to the June 17th meeting, in which at that time the resolution will be reconsidered, and and it allows, the motion is, so it allows, we as the commissioners, it allows the city time to get the fiscal impact of what parity or whatever other issues may be causing that this resolution would cause.
The challenge I'm going to raise here is that by charter, we have to have a balanced budget by July 1st. Again, this would have been so helpful to have included in any of our discussions over the last several months as we've considered the budget. So, there isn't a good solution here. If we wait until next week or the 17th, the city will have exactly 13 days to potentially get a whole new budget through the Board of Aldermen to have a balanced budget approved by July 1. It's just, there is no good solution here. Waiting till the 17th throws us into a holding pattern where, again, there's going to be more chaos. Again, the solution that would have been respectful and I think should have been followed, and I will repeatedly request, is the process moving forward. Instead of having meetings and hoping that the mayor can make time to go to committee hearings in the middle of the week, we involve the budget department in important considerations, especially when these considerations are in the millions of dollars of additional cost to the city on top of the budget for the police department.
So there's a motion on the table now. And so, Mayor, are you wanting to?
I'm just pointing out that the motion to postpone this consideration to the 17th is not exactly one that works well for the city. I mean, it gives the city, yes, 7 days potentially to consider it, but then we also have just 13 days to pass a balanced budget before the Board of Aldermen. Neither solution, considering it today or waiting 7 days, is a good solution for the city. Again, we should have been involved involved in these conversations to make consideration for this for the months that you all have been doing your due diligence on it. And again, just what an unfortunate way to treat the city that pays everyone's salary.
So Mayor, do you want to move forward with your motion? Or
I don't see a way of not doing that, again, but I do recognize it throws the city's budget process further into chaos. But of course, I don't think any matter should be considered without consideration of how the implications on the city. Again, the fact that we're sitting here today at this time, the only solution that would have made any sense would be to go back in time and include the city in these conversations.
The solution is for the city, or representatives from the city, to attend all committee meetings that are posted on the website and all committee meetings. That's the solution.
No, I would ask that you give a readout to the city.
No other commissioner is personally invited. Those notices are put on our calendar and notified.
No other commissioner has to balance the decisions that this board makes with the rest of the city's budget.
Okay, I'm going to go back to a question that similarly to what I asked earlier, Mayor. To be able to resolve that issue that you have, what is your recommendation? What do you want to happen? Do you want us to email your staff every time there's a meeting or invite them? How do we resolve this? Because
Commissioner, so I think with matters of major budgetary fiscal implications on the city, again, the city should be involved in those conversations. And a readout, if we're considering raises, particularly double-digit raises, or anything that will have a ripple effect, considering that this body has been considering it for 3 months now, the appropriate thing to do, the right thing to do would be to include the city, and to involve the budgeter, say, hey, we're considering this, what do you think? I'll tell you, we just did 3% raises, and you've been involved in a pay study.
Yeah.
Under no circumstance would that be foisted upon the Board of Aldermen or any governing body with just 36 hours. There would be lots of discussions going into it and lots of consideration. The general public was floored by this. I've talked to, as I mentioned, many members of the public, many members of the business community that reiterated over and over, if I ran my business like this, I would be rich.
I just want to go back.
So there is no perfect solution here. There's no good solution here. There's no adequate solution here by waiting to the 11th hour. There just isn't. So I'm not going to sit here and say that waiting 7 days is adequate or good. It's just not.
But that's not my question. My question is to resolve your issue that your team is not involved in key meetings that we believe we have provided avenues for them to know about it and for them to participate. What is your recommendation to us to resolve that issue so we ensure that that is taken care of to your standard?
It's not even a standard, Commissioner. With all due respect, it's very simple. Involve the budget department in discussions
What does
related.
involvement look like for you?
Communicate with the budget director. It's very simple.
In what form?
In any form, email, phone, text, call, any form will do.
You
But
realize
I would
the budget
prefer
director
written.
is suing the board.
I understand that.
Okay.
I understand that. I also understand that the board is suing the city for its reserve fund and RAM settlement dollars. So, that shouldn't prohibit us from communicating, Mr. Graville. It should not prevent us from communicating.
Lieutenant.
You answered my question, Mayor.
Thank you,
And so
I
that
just
we
think
understand.
a general, this communication would be helpful. So again, consideration and communication. It's really, it's not a thing in particular, but communication is critical. Okay,
Now,
thank you.
I have a quick question. Is Paul Payne involved? Is he on the emails to go for these committees?
For every budget committee, yes.
Oh, well,
Okay.
we're doing
From
that.
this, from what point forward? That was not the case. And my point is, under no
Well, we're not done
circumstances.
talking.
Answer the question, is he on the email?
Is he on the email?
Yes, apparently before I even started, he's been included in every budget
How
committee
many,
invite.
how many budget meetings has he been to?
0.
Okay, he's,
So, Mayor, after, with all due respect,
Before I was running.
every meeting we sit here and you say, we're uninformed, we're uninformed. We don't know what else to do.
That's why I was asking
no,
the question.
Mr. Commissioner, with all due respect, the vast majority of dealings at these budget meeting committees are internal budget discussions. They're internal. okay? And the budget director for the city of St. Louis isn't gonna sit for hours and listen to you all have discussions about the internal workings of the budget of the police department. I have been to, that's just not a good use of his time. Under no circumstance.
Your budget.
I think,
Yes, with all due respect, your department here for budget has 11 employees. We have 9. We have, our budget department for all 27 departments has 3 employees. I'm not going to ask him to do that. He's not going to sit here and do that. He doesn't have any decision-making power here. And my ask has been when there are issues that impact the city's budget, we include the budget director for the city. It's very simple. That's it.
We're gonna bring this back in. Right back.
Again, this is the first I've heard of it. It's the first Commissioner Jenkins Gray's heard of it. It's the first our budget director's heard of it. You know, so if the expectation is the guy spends half of his working time sitting here in budget committees for which he has no oversight and almost no say, that is ridiculous.
No. Mayor, so if we table your motion to table until the next meeting, do you believe that it's adequate for you to do what you need to do, or
Again, I said, neither solution is good or adequate at this point, Commissioner, because of the timing. Because we are just being thrown this at the 11.9th hour. So yes, having an extra week would be helpful to understand the cost, but we still would not have adequate time to pass a full budget we will do everything humanly possible. It's slightly better, it's slightly less awful to do to the city, but is it adequate? Is it good? No, it is not good. What would have been good would be to involve the budget director in any of these discussions over the last 4 months. I'm not going to sit here and say that giving us a week to do due diligence is good. It's not. It is slightly better than what is proposed before us today, which is to discuss this and have 36 hours of consideration.
Okay, we're gonna move to call for the vote on the motion that it is tabled to the June 17th meeting.
Commissioner McVeigh just stepped out to take a break real quick, just so you know.
We'll wait for Commissioner McVeigh to come back from his break. But that's the motion on the table.
You can.
Are you?
I have to go back.
Oh,
You're not voters.
yeah, you're fine. Thank you. I think a lot of folks have to, quiet,
It's been a while, sir.
yeah. As you get older, you. Be something else, but yeah. On the more agenda items here, what's our next? This is.
I have an unrelated question, although it is budgetary.
Perfect, thank you, sir.
So we have, the,
Should be an easy to answer question, if you want.
we're right in the middle of the motion, can we move the
That's
motion?
okay.
and
I
we
just,
can-
that's right.
So the motion is that this resolution is tabled to June 17th.
Yes.
The next meeting, in order to give the city a little more time to look at the fiscal note for the city, on the city's behalf. At that time, in June, we will move the vote on the resolution for the raises.
Correct.
All right?
Yes, can I confirm with Commissioner McVeigh if he's clear on that? If you can hear you?
Make sure that-
Commissioner McVeigh, did you hear that? This is a motion to postpone until the next meeting.
Understood.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right, Lieutenant
Yes.
Tully.
Commissioner Saraceno.
Present.
Commissioner Jenkins Gray.
Aye.
Commissioner Artiga.
Aye.
Commissioner McVeigh.
Aye.
Mayor Spencer.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Be on the agenda for June 10th.
It'll be on the agenda for June 17th, in which we will move forward with that. I think prior to the motion vote, the mayor had a question.
I was just going to ask in the, it was mentioned in the media that there has been funding found for the sound wall. And in the transfers that were approved several weeks ago, as I mentioned, there were $5.2 million worth of transfers approved. The vast majority of those were not funded by any accounts. So I think 1.7 million were actually fundable. Where is the funding for the sound wall coming from that was mentioned? I just didn't understand where the funding for the sound wall was going to come
Mayor,
from.
that's coming from the comptroller's office back in September. Moved money out of an encumbrance account in the academy, and they moved that to our asset forfeiture fund in there.
Okay.
And that's getting rolled back
Okay.
for that.
Okay, so the asset forfeiture fund?
Well, it's really general
Mr.
fund.
Sullivan, if you address it, please come to the podium, please. Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to keep you moving back and forth, but.
No, it got moved to the asset forfeiture fund in there by the comptroller's office. So they're in the process of moving it back to the general fund where it should have been, and we're gonna pay for it out of the general fund.
Okay, thank you. With regards to those transfers, was there a reconsideration of them?
Are these items on the agenda if we have to, we follow the agenda?
I just wanted to make sure that the police board was aware that there was, I wasn't made aware by the board or any matter of the board, so I just wanted to make sure that since the,
You sent us an email.
I did send you an email, but the
Yeah,
transfers went through
thank you.
Mr. Saraceno.
Okay, but
I just was trying to be polite, actually.
I understand that, but we're also following the agenda, which is what we're required to do. So the next on the agenda, would like to take a break?
We don't,
We have, I think we need to get through these resolutions, and I know that there's, okay. I'm sorry. So I had the annual command, it was B, but am I missing a C, or it goes right to D? Is that right?
It should be C, and
It
it
should
should
be
be
C at the bottom.
resolution,
Resolution for civilian.
civilian
benefits.
employees. There's a second resolution, if you want to.
Did it not print for you?
Okay. So we have a next resolution of civilian employees. Could we, no.
Yeah, my thought would be if we wanted to, I don't know how much discussion you want to have. If you want to get into discussion, I would assume it probably is going to be the same motion.
It would, yeah.
And we can just,
Yeah, but, make sure, Gray just walked out, so, we'll take, if anybody needs a few minutes to take a break, we can do that since Commissioner.
take a 3-minute adjournment until
Yeah, let's
11.
get back.
11? Okay.
Yep, very good. Use the restroom too. here. It's 11:10. We'll reconvene. We're on the agenda item C, resolution increasing annual salaries for civilian employees. Is there a motion? Lieutenant Tully, please read the motion.
This is resolution number 2026-25, whereas the St. Louis Board of Police Commissioners has determined it to be in the best interest of the board to adopt the following resolution, and whereas the board previously approved a salary increase for all St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department police officers and sergeants when it entered into the collective bargaining agreement for those recognized bargaining units, and whereas the board now wishes to increase the salaries of all department civilian employees to improve recruitment and retention of these employees, and whereas the board's goal is to make the department the premier department in the state of Missouri, because it is what the citizens of the city of St. Louis and the region deserve. And whereas, in order to accomplish this goal, the board needs to invest in its employees of the department. And whereas the department currently has more than 100 job openings for civilian employees and needs to make its salaries competitive. Be it resolved that the board approves a 4% salary increase for all department civilian employees, and be it further resolved that the salary increase described herein will be effective June 28th of 2026.
Thank you, Lieutenant Tully. Is there a motion to approve the resolution increasing the annual salaries for the civilian employees?
I would make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Ortega. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Brown. Move for discussion. Mayor Spencer.
I would just move that we consider these in conjunction with the other raises at the same time.
The mayor has moved to, so are you making another motion, or is it just, it's a discussion, it's a recommendation, what is it?
I would move that we table it to hold it in conjunction with the other set of raises.
During the discussion, the mayor has advised that you would like to table it till the June 17th. Is there any?
I have a question for Mr. Sullivan. This does not affect the parity issue with the
No.
fire department?
What's the fiscal note to it, Mr. Sullivan?
The salaries are gonna cost approximately $910,972, and the benefits will be around $278,000.
Is this in our budget?
Well, for next fiscal
For
year,
next
yeah, we're
fiscal
gonna,
year.
it'll fit within the budget, yeah.
Okay.
Are the benefits paid out of the budget for the police department?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Also, I included the marshals and the park rangers in it too. They're included in that number.
The marshals and the park rangers are.
They're just getting the 4%, they're just getting 4%?
I don't know. I just put all of our civilian employees in and gave them 4%. That, nobody told me anything more or less was coming.
Thank you. Okay. Motion, or mayor recommended that it be tabled. Is there a motion or a second on tabling, or we can move to a vote today on the civilian employees? Any discussion? I'm gonna request that we move to this vote for civilian raises today. Was there any thing with regards to how the mayor's to table it? Any other commissioners have any comments or concerns to that? To tabling civilian? None? Am I seeing?
I would just reiterate that, I think, consideration of raises across the board should be given more due diligence than a 36-hour notice, regardless of implication.
Okay, seeing none, is there?
I do have a question for the mayor. The 4% increase for the civilians, Mayor, do you see a potential impact to the city as a result of this? Because we don't have the parity issue with them. So what are your concerns? Do you have any concerns about the 4% for the civilians?
Again, I just, thank you, Commissioner, just think it's a matter of good governance. I mean, we, as you know, have lengthy discussions and considerations for raises for city employees. It took us the better part of a year to do the due diligence to provide raises for our staff. As mentioned, recently it became a bit of a hot issue, the park rangers and the filling those positions. has become a challenge, and so would appreciate further due diligence on what these look like. If Mr. Sullivan is just doing a straight 4%, I would love to be able to do a straight 4% for city employees. We can't do that, obviously, and we must get by with significantly less for our civilian workforce across the board, but would appreciate further due diligence than just this. I think in general, as you know, as a former HR director, that historically, usually, and for every other department in the city, we do a considerable amount of due diligence beyond this.
And so, if due diligence is the issue, Jennifer and,
Mr. Sullivan.
yeah, right now, I'm sorry, Mr. Sullivan, my brain is. Are you comfortable, can you please share with us the due diligence that you did? Because I don't want it to appear that you didn't do due diligence in arriving at the 4%. And number two, is the 4% being paid for within the PD budget? Do we need anything from the city to be able to execute that 4%?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay.
I guess the due diligence I'm speaking of is in the decision-making body,
Okay.
which would be us. And
Oh,
so
okay.
considering we've had 36 hours to consider
Okay.
this and very little information about what went into it, again, we've conducted a full pay study. So from my perspective, the due diligence looks very different than what I would expect and hope for. So I just making that comment, Commissioner.
For clarification as well, Mr. Daniels did this analysis when we were doing the analysis for the initial CBAs, right?
Yes.
So this was
We've talked
done
about 4% for
long
months.
before, and I know that that's been a conversation in many meetings to try to.
When I
figure
say
out-
we as a board have talked about 4% for months.
And then going forward, I know that as part of our ENA transfer that we requested in April was a job study
Okay.
for the civilian employees to be able to do that. So we were not permitted to make that transfer, but certainly we want to make that a priority. The board wants to make that a priority, and that is certainly a conversation to be had in addition after this particular, if this raise goes into effect.
Commissioner, in your time of HR, to what you brought back into your department heads and things that have to make a certain, it's some kind of agreement that they have to make 10% above what the people
Yes.
that they're managing.
Yes.
Also, with regards to this is, within interdepartments within the city and how it operates, how does that work if somebody would, within the department, get a raise?
Okay, so someone within a department, if they were to get a raise, there are a number of different ways that you can give them raises. They can get raises through promotion, they can get raises through internal equity, they can get raises through compression, they can get raises through retention. So there are several ways in which is not uncommon in compensation practices, that you have different avenues to give employee a raise. And they can get performance increases, raises,
Are they
and
bonuses or increases?
you can get performance increases, but in Missouri, there is a statute that limits being able to provide bonuses for work that has already been performed. So, there are other avenues, though, that you can give, I don't want to call them bonuses because that's not a word that we shouldn't use, in municipal government. But there are other ways also to be able to give increases.
Lump sum.
Lump sum, right.
Lump sum, like
what we use.
what you, I think there was, you made you sent
Yeah,
out
we
like
were
$1,000
really challenged, considering the budget implications of the police board this year, to provide raises to our city workers and to finish the compensation study with the change of a personnel director and other things. And so as a result, we did lump sum payments to the majority to our civil service workers. That was for this year. It was less than what they would have received if they had received even a 3% raise, but it was a gesture of gratitude.
Mr. Gravel, did you have
A little clarification, Mayor.
Yeah.
The civilian employees for the city of St. Louis get 3% and the bonus?
No. So last year, they did not get a raise.
But that was one of our concerns in the budget, was the bonus, the constitutionality of it. I think you talked about.
It's not a bonus, and actually, it's a lump sum. We did one under Director Jenkins Gray as
The
well.
way it's been presented in
Yes.
social media by board members is as a bonus, but I think, I understand the distinction between the two. But that was part of the concern why we did the 4% instead of 3%.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions? I think I'd like to move move to a vote on this. To move to the vote of, move to the vote to decide on this 4% increase to the civilian employees. We call for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Saraceno?
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins Gray?
Aye.
Commissioner Artiga?
Aye.
Commissioner McVeigh?
Aye.
Mayor Spencer?
Present.
4 ayes, 1 present, sir.
Thank you, motion carries. We'll move to D, Resolution D, authorizing transfer request into trust for reinsurance purposes. Lieutenant Tully, could you please read the resolution?
Yes, this is resolution number 2026-26, whereas the St. Louis Board of Police Commissioners has determined it to be in the best interest of the board to adopt the following resolution, and the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department's 2026 fiscal year budget was prepared and approved by the City of St. Louis before the board came into existence under House Bill 495, signed by the Governor of the State of Missouri on March 26, 2025, and whereas the department's preliminary 2026 budget allocation from the city totaled $189,191,573, and whereas the Budget and Finance Department has performed an end-of-year review and reconciliation of the budget, and whereas the department has saved more than $5 million as a result of increased efficiencies, developing new bidding processes, contract negotiations, and the transfer of recruiting for new employees, and whereas the memorandum of understanding entered into in March of 2026 among the board and the department, the City of St. Louis, and the Missouri Attorney General's Office states, all parties agree that the board shall be permitted to carry over or transfer or pay into a trust for reinsurance purposes portions of its annual budget allocation from the city for the purposes stated herein, and shall allocate at least $2 million in the board's budget each fiscal year for such purpose. Whereas the board believes that $5 million in transfers are necessary for the board to establish its reinsurance trust for future liabilities, and whereas the requested transfer of funds results in no increase to the department's budgeted expenditures and instead reallocates existing funds. Be it resolved that the $5 million transfer is approved for the purposes of establishing a reinsurance trust for future liabilities, and be it further resolved that the MOU between the parties authorizes this transfer for such purpose.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, so we've heard the resolution authorizing the fund transfers. Do we have a motion to approve that resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Ortega. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Sonia Jenkins Gray. Move for discussion. Mayor Spencer.
I just would like to understand where these cost savings are coming from. I know there's some language here, but that's finding $5 million in budget savings really implies that the police department wasn't run well before, or there's so much, finding $5 million is a lot of money. Can we have some understanding of where the $5 million is coming from in the cost savings? Do you have an analysis you can share with us, or just some line items or some accounting?
Commissioner Jenkins
I
Gray.
do have one comment to make before you speak, Jennifer, and that is, Mayor, in your comments, you just made a comment that it could be representative of the police department not being run well. As a board, we have got to get away from the negative narratives that we're presenting about this department and about the board members here. Because to make assumptions like that and to put that narrative out there, it damages the department's reputation. It continues to divide the city when comments and things like of a negative nature are made like that. And so I just respectfully ask that we try to limit the negative narratives and the negative words that are being portrayed on this department, because it is unfair to our officers, and it's unfair to the department, and it is unfair to the commissioners. It's okay to have a perspective or an opinion, but when it comes across negative, it damages the reputation and the brand of the department. And I know our city doesn't want that, you as mayor doesn't want that, and it's just something that we don't need, and I'm asking that we just try to refrain from that type of language.
Thank you, Commissioner. My
Yeah.
question remains, where are the cost
Okay.
savings coming from? I know there's some language here, but it's such an enormous amount of cost savings. If you could help us understand where it was found in the budget, it would be appreciated.
Sure, so as we mentioned as part of the previous discussion, there is $8 million still in the police department budget as at the end of the reconciliation that the Budget and Finance Department has done with the city's comptroller's office. And as part of that $8 million, instead of it being returned to the city, our goal is to approve this transfer under the memorandum of understanding to begin to fund the reinsurance trust that will assist us with liability payments that we will have in the future. So when we talk about cost savings, we're talking about the restructure of governance and the restructure of processes that we have begun to put in place, that we have been putting in place over the course of this year. And this is an effort to make sure that we continue to work towards funding this department and its liabilities within the budgets that we currently have.
So the way I understand the resolution describes cost savings in contract negotiations, new bidding processes, increased efficiencies in transferring employee, like the recruiting piece, but you're suggesting that this $5 million is coming from the cost savings at the end of the fiscal year, which Mr. Sullivan indicated would cover the cost of the fire department raises. Can you describe where the savings are coming from?
I didn't understand him to say that.
Yeah, I didn't either.
He indicated that there was going to be $8 million at the end of the fiscal year that would be transferred back to the city that would more than cover the cost of raises for the fire department. Is the way I understood it, and I believe Mr. Brown commented on it as well.
I think that Mr. Sullivan said it,
Okay.
but I think that Don Brown brought it up.
Okay, I'm
Commissioner
sorry,
Brown
I
brought
could have
it up.
misunderstood. So I understood, I may have misunderstood Mr. Sullivan's testimony earlier about the $8 million going back to the city. And so I guess I'm confused.
please
Is it
step up.
going back to the city, or are we using it for this?
The goal for this resolution is to use it for this instead of all 8 million going back to the city.
No, Mayor, what I was saying, the $8 million, we were just gonna return it to the city as we've done in the past when we've had extra money left at the end of our budget year. That's all I meant by that.
So you're planning on returning $8 million
Well-
to the city?
You know, if that's how it works out, yeah, that's how I projected it out, you know.
You're using previous practices.
Yeah,
what you're
just the
telling me.
practice.
So with this resolution, is that changing that previous practice and then allocating 5 of the 8 million to this, Jennifer?
Restate the question. We will, if this resolution is approved, we will not be returning 8 million to the city.
Okay, so what Mr. Sullivan said earlier then will be negated by this resolution.
What Mr. Sullivan said was that there's 8 million unspent in our budget. If we don't spend it, it will go back to the city.
Okay, and so if we do spend it, if your suggestion, do you understand why this is a little bit confusing for me and the public? I mean,
We're trying
Mr.
to explain it, so ask questions.
Okay, so what the resolution states is that there were cost savings found through contract negotiations, new bidding processes, increased efficiencies. But it sounds like rather than that, we're using 5 million of the unspent salaries for police officers we didn't hire.
It's not all for
But
salaries.
sure, unspent funds, but the majority of which would be in salary savings
Not
from.
necessarily.
You're using the rather, but it's
Okay,
in
but-
place of, because partially of the efficiencies that were found since taking over, some of that efficiencies has helped with our savings as well.
But
And
it's
the
not five-
reconciliation.
But it's not $5 million.
I
I'm
can't-
just trying to understand where the money is coming from. So it sounds like we're taking from the salary savings, rather, what would be
will-
otherwise
some
returned
of
back
it
to the
will-
city?
Yeah, some of it will need to come from that, but
How
that's
much of it is
also-
coming from that 8 million?
Those will be logistics that will be handled after the board makes their decision.
Okay, but a resolution transferring funds should identify where the funds are coming from. My question is how much of the funds are coming from that 8 million that Mr. Sullivan referenced earlier?
All of it will come from the 8 million because it's 5 million. If you need more
Unreal.
information, I'm happy to
How is
provide
that
it.
unreal? I think she answered
Okay.
the question.
Yeah.
Because he was referring to it earlier as money that was going to go back, so then we're,
That,
okay.
he never said that it was go back. It is left over in the budget.
Mr. Brown asked the question, would that cover it?
I think prior to this resolution, there is 8 million. Once this resolution comes, it'll be less.
If it passes.
This resolution passes, it will be less.
And we will use that, I think, I think because it's continuously being challenged, but I think that the goal in that would be that this reinsurance trust will also potentially provide savings.
If I can, you know, we have all, to your point, Commissioner Sonia Jenkins Gray, all this negativity. Look, this is something we worked with the City Councilor's office and the Attorney General's office over a 6-month period to come up with this memorandum of understanding. There is a case currently pending in front of the Missouri Supreme Court that goes all the way back of the transfer from state control to local control, because there was never a resolution to who pays for what, how is this done. We worked very hard with Mr. Garvin and with the Attorney General's office to really try to think out how can we make the court system work so we can operate efficiently. We entered into this MOU, everybody's abiding by it. We're starting to make some progress and then some headway in the management of these huge liabilities related to local control over the police department. Part of the deal when we came up with this MOU was, you know, the state has said we're not going to pay the liabilities for the department. So if the department gets hit with $1 million verdict or $2 million verdict, that's got to come within this board's police budget. So working with Mr. Garvin, I came up with this concept looking off of and researching other municipalities locally and, you know, throughout the United States of creating this reinsurance trust. Originally, when we were going to do this, if you all will remember, there was $4 million in the internal service fund for the city councilors that we were going to fund this with. We ended up not being able to fund that because that money went away, and we didn't use it. We didn't approve its use, but we had to. This was something, if you look at the language of the MOU, this is mandatory. We're required to do this. That's what Michael Garvin, the city council office, wanted, was you got to start saving some money. Because of the money that's left over at the end of the year, and we do believe it is because of the efficiency and really all the hard work of the chief and, you know, the secretary and everybody, you know, kind of pitching in to come up with some efficiencies. We have this savings. This is something that's very positive because it's the city looking out for us saying, you need to start doing this because you're responsible for liabilities. And we just felt like this was a number, you know, because when you talk about giving back, there has been money taken back by the city beyond just the $8 million. And we can get into those details when we talk about it at the next meeting. But the idea was, and what I want to stress is, like, we have all these lawsuits and everything, like, this is actually something that's working that I think is better than what was in place last time that they continually litigated it. It's giving guidance to the Attorney General's office that's representing the city currently on all their state police department cases. We have the Attorney General. We're starting to fill out and get the numbers in place to really, I think, effectively manage these cases. That's been a big transition that was up in the air for a long time. But I think the positive of it is this is something that we work collaboratively with the city on that is working, that I think is having an immediate effect, is positive. Commissioner Ortega, you've been on every single meeting talking about this, discussing this and whatnot. You were on the discussions when we talked about the MOU, you know, and I think this resolution is really the result of really good collaboration with the city and the beginning of a collaborative relationship.
If I may, that's all helpful information about the MOU, but my question was just simply and purely about the funding of it. The resolution states that the funding has come from what the department has saved more than $5 million. I'm going to just read it. Whereas the department has saved more than $5 million as the result of increased efficiencies, developing new bidding processes, contract negotiations, and the transfer of recruiting for new employees. So the resolution states that the $5 million is coming from savings in these 4 key areas and doesn't mention at all the savings of the department, the salary savings. So it is confusing, Mr. Gravelle, and if the funds, all $5 million, are coming out of unspent funds, I just was asking where the funds come from, and I'm grateful for the clarification, particularly because the $8 million was referenced earlier, and it wasn't at all clear that this resolution would take $5 million from the $8 million that the city is projected to get. So that clarification is helpful, welcome, and appreciated.
Okay. I'm confused now.
That's
but-
okay. If there's no further discussion, I think we can move for a roll call vote.
I think really the resolution is to talk about the savings.
Is there?
I'm sorry, Mayor, what did you say? I didn't hear
To
you.
specify where the month's, it doesn't,
Oh, okay.
It's, I don't think she had any specific. that
Okay.
she was gonna add to that. If there is no further discussion, I'm going to ask for Lieutenant Tully to call for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Saraceno?
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins Gray?
Aye.
Commissioner Artiga?
Aye.
Commissioner McVeigh?
Aye.
Mayor Spencer?
present.
Present.
4 ayes, 1 present, sir.
Okay. Resolution E, authorizing new department employees. Lieutenant Tully, please read the resolution.
This is resolution number 2026-27, whereas the St. Louis Board of Police Commissioners has determined it to be in the best interest of the board to adopt the following resolution, and whereas the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department is in need of a civilian recruiter position within the Human Resources Department to assist with the hiring of new civilian and commissioned employees, and whereas the department is also in need of a human resources coordinator to primarily assist with PeopleSoft and Oracle, and whereas the department is also in need of a human resources generalist to handle employee relations, FMLA requests, and assist with other matters. And whereas these positions were previously built into the FY 2026 department budget, and whereas the board desires to add these positions to the department. Be it resolved, the board approves the addition of a civilian recruiter, a human resources coordinator, and a human resources generalist within the Human Resources Department, and be it further resolved that the job descriptions for each position are attached as Exhibit B, and be it further resolved that a copy of the job descriptions shall be open for public inspection.
No. Okay.
Not unless they're questions, unless they're intervening
Okay.
discussion.
Okay. All right.
I make a
thank you.
motion.
Making a motion, Commissioner Gray,
Yes.
to approve new department
I'll second.
employees. Commissioner Gray has made a motion, second by Commissioner Ortega. Is there any discussion on that, on these? Any discussion regarding adding a new employee to the employees to the HR department? Once, twice, seeing none, we'll move for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Saraceno?
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins Gray?
Aye.
Commissioner Artiga?
Aye.
Commissioner McVeigh?
Aye.
Mayor Spencer?
Present.
4 ayes, 1 present, sir.
Motion carries 4-1. Thank you. All right, we're going to F, resolution awarding a bid for an employee assistant program to BJC Corporate Health Services. Lieutenant Tully, please read the resolution.
This is resolution number 2026-28, whereas the St. Louis Board of Police Commissioners has determined to be in the best interest of the board to adopt the following resolution, and whereas the board previously adopted a procurement policy for the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, which requires competitive bidding for procurements in excess of $100,000, and whereas the department currently provides an employee assistance program through a contract between the City of St. Louis and BJC Health System, and whereas the current contract between the city and BJC expires at the end of June, and whereas the department issued a request for proposals on April 30th, 2026, seeking qualified bids to provide an employee assistance program to the department, and whereas the department is in accordance with the purchasing policy advertised the RFP in various publications, including but not limited to the St. Louis Daily Record, the City Journal, and the department's website, and whereas the RFP closed on May 22nd, 2026, and the department received one bid. And whereas the Director of Human Resources has reviewed the sole bid submitted by BJC Corporate Health Services and found the sole bid to be the lowest and best proposal and recommends the board authorize the department to enter into a contract with BJC Corporate Health Services. And whereas the first year of the sole bid has a total cost to the department of $50,302, with the second and third year costs of being $51,807 and $53,362 respectively. Be it resolved that the board awards the bid for RFP number FY 2026-0004 for an employee assistance program to BJC Corporate Health Services, and be it further resolved that the Chief of Police is hereby authorized and directed to enter into a contract with BJC Corporate Health Services pursuant to the terms of RFP FY 2026-0004 for an employee assistance program in the amounts set forth in the bid submitted by BJC Corporate Health Services.
Thank you, Lieutenant Tully. We've heard the resolution. Is there a motion for?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Ortega.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Brown. Any discussion regarding this BJC Corporate Health Services? Seeing none, we'll call for a roll call vote from Lieutenant Tully.
Commissioner Saraceno?
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins-Gray?
Aye.
Commissioner Ortega?
Aye.
Commissioner McVeigh?
Aye.
Mayor Spencer?
Present.
4 ayes, 1 present, sir.
4 to 1 present, motion carries. Thank you. All right, we'll move to the resolution awarding bid of a psychological services to Clinical Associates PC. Please read the motion.
This is
the resolution.
This is resolution number 2026-29, whereas the St. Louis Board of Police Commissioners has determined it to be in the best interest of the board to adopt the following resolution, and whereas the board previously adopted a procurement policy for the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department which requires competitive bidding for procurements in excess of $100,000, and whereas the department currently receives psychological services, including but not limited to fitness for duty testing, through a contract between the City of St. Louis and Florissant Psychological Services, and whereas the current contract between the city and FPS expires at the end of June, and whereas the department issued a request for proposals on April 30th, 2026, seeking qualified bids to provide psychological services to the department, and whereas the departments, in accordance with the purchasing policy, advertised the RFP in various publications, including but not limited to the St. Louis Daily Record, the City Journal, and the department's website, and whereas the RFP closed on May 22nd, 2026, and the department received one bid, and whereas the Director of Human Resources reviewed the sole bid submitted by Clinical Associates PC and found the sole bid to be the lowest and best proposal, and recommends the board authorize the department to enter into a contract with Clinical Associates PC. And whereas the sole bid provides a mix of fixed cost and hourly services to the department shown as Exhibit C, all provided on an as-needed basis to the department. Be it resolved that the board awards the bid for RFP FY 2026-0003 for psychological services to Clinical Associates PC, and be it further resolved that the Chief of Police is hereby authorized and directed to enter into a contract with Clinical Associates PC pursuant to the terms of RFP FY 2026-0003 for psychological services at the rates set forth in the bid submitted by Clinical Associates PC.
Lieutenant Tully, looking for a motion to approve these services.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Ortega. Is there a second? Second.
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Jenkins-Gray. Any discussion on this resolution? Seeing none, we'll call for a roll call vote. Lieutenant Tully, please call for the vote.
Commissioner Saraceno?
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins-Gray?
Aye.
Commissioner Ortega?
Aye.
Commissioner McVeigh?
Aye.
Mayor Spencer?
Present.
4 ayes, 1 present, sir.
4 to 1 present. Motion carries. Thank you. Great. All the resolutions have been read. We'll move to the next agenda item, is legal services update. Mr. Graville, would you please provide your update as general counsel?
Okay, so I was requested to compile some information by you, President Saraceno, in response to an email received from the mayor regarding questions about my legal bills. What I wanted to do was, if you guys can indulge me for a minute, is kind of take you where we started and where we are now. Kind of take you, and what I've provided for you all at your desk is a memorandum of as you guys kind of taking us through where we started and where we are now, and kind of an abbreviated timeline of some of the large legal issues that have like kind of come up and things that we've had addressed that I think were a little bit unusual. So as a reminder, you all will remember that, you know, this budget was not created by this board. This budget was created by the city. And I think with a lot of, I don't mean that as a negative, with a lot of thought process towards planning for how things would operate. When I was hired, there was the police division, the city councilor's office here. They had a budget for personnel of $1.6 million. And then they had an additional $4 million for legal judgments, okay? Those monies were put into an internal service fund. It's my understanding those monies are not available for us, which is a discussion for another time. When we were hired, we came in at a rate, and our billable rate is the same rate that we operate for the other government entities that we currently represent. The board is not the only entity, as you mentioned. Mayor, one of them's Chesterfield, one of them's Deterra. We're special counsel in a couple other places for government entities. And really what we've tried to do in putting this together is give our bills to you. We've given these bills out, just so people are aware, in multiple sunshine requests. We've given these bills out in response to the Jeff City challenge to HB 495. So these have circulated, and you've probably seen some articles that are out there with regards to it. One thing I do want to mention, the way we bill is we have discounted or written off significant time from the very beginning. That is a decision we make as a firm, a decision we decide because they're giving up their time as well. I'm very proud of my team. They're the best, and they've worked their butts off for you guys. I don't know. I don't really know what questions you all have. You know, one of the things I've talked to many of you all about is as we build institutional knowledge, that's the single most important thing we do for this entity is build its own institutional knowledge. We, you know, a lot of the things we run up against with the city is we don't have institutional knowledge. The city has institutional knowledge, but we're proscripted by statute to operate a certain way. And we are a state agency. We are a agency of the sovereign of the city of St. Louis, and so, you know, it's created, you know, some rubs here and there, but we continue to kind of work through it with them. But we had to set up a brand new government. We had to use the people that were here. Commissioner Saraceno, you said we got to build the house while we live in it. And really, we tend to focus on moving forward. But as we've built this institutional knowledge with, you know, Sarah's here from HR and built her department, and Erica's here from legal compliance, and these people have started to get their departments filled out and get people there. They're rocking. And it's allowed us, we've had a little bit of kind of a step back with budget and finance where we've had to be more involved, obviously, not by choice. We're not accountants, but that's what our job is to do, is to help kind of fill the gaps. And so as this institutional knowledge continues to build, and we got the right people, we got great people building the institutional knowledge, our role will diminish, and that's what needs to happen. As my job is to represent the board, our job is to represent the board, but where we've needed to fill in, we've filled in. And as you all know that have had these conversations with me from the very beginning, it is my goal to build as much institutional knowledge as possible because, frankly, as general counsel, I should be the most expendable person. And I've said that, and I'll say that out here, is that this has to operate on its own without our firm filling in spots or doing certain things. And everybody has been united on that mission, from the committee members, from the committees themselves, from the board, and the employees, who really are the ones that are executing on this vision. And I probably went a little bit further than I needed to go because I don't really get a chance to talk about the positives of this department. I can tell you, when we talk about it at my firm, what inspires us are the people talking to us every day from this department. I know I've had those conversations with you. It's a work in progress. Nothing's perfect. But we've tried to provide the best services, best quality services. It's not that we're not without our mistakes or we don't miss things. We do the best we can. I think we've done that, and hopefully, you know, you all are satisfied with the work that we're providing to you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Bill. Any questions for Mr. Bill?
I do.
Mayor Spencer.
Well, first of all, Mr. Gravel, and this doesn't come often, so take it for what it's worth. I have to commend you on the detail here provided in the invoices. It's appreciated, it was expected, and it is here, and it's appreciated. So thank you. What I've noticed here, however, though, is we're running tabs, and as Mr. Sullivan's talked about the end of the year budget and projections and things of that nature, I think it is really important that we're up to date here. What's really striking is that we have the firm's legal bills from July 1 through January 31st, and we are now in June. And so
Included in here is the February bill too.
I did see the February bill, so what, and I did take a look at that at the end. These are you're looking at about $100,000 to $125,000 per month. The February was considerably over 200, and as we've ramped up this year,
February wasn't over $200,000.
okay.
That's probably a past due because it's about 90.
Looked like 227 was right here.
It's an outstanding balance.
Okay.
Because if you look at it, we get paid about every 90 days from the city.
Okay. Well, it was just hard for me to kind of reconcile here. This is a pretty big book, so I'm
Yeah,
just kind of
it
going
is,
through
it
it.
is. We're working on other things. We got it to you guys as soon as we could, and I'll email it out to you.
Okay, but I do think it's important as a matter of good financial due diligence that we have a running total on a monthly basis. We don't have a total here after January 31st. And so my request is it says here on the cover sheet, firm's legal bills from July 1st, 2025 through January 31st, 2026. I'm just reading here what the table here has.
The table, that's a mistake. The table actually goes to February. If you look down at the table, it includes February.
It wasn't clear to me if that was the billing month or the month that was the invoice was submitted,
No,
or the
it's
month.
billing month.
So it just wasn't clear here,
Yeah.
Mr. Gravel. So some
And
clarity would be
I know
helpful,
I owe the department March, April, and May, and I'll
Okay.
get those probably within the next week or so to the
Okay,
department.
well, it is my request that we kind of that we absolutely keep up to date on there, particularly because the bills are so high and they are racking up. So I just want to make
Mr.
sure that
Sullivan,
we're,
do you have a?
this is the first we'd seen of it, and I just want a regular reporting cadence.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I do reciprocally also would ask that we need that same thing for internal service fund for next year as we try to put our reports together. But
I'm
we
not
can
sure what
talk
you're
about
asking
that.
for, but yes.
Yeah, like the billing on the internal service fund.
Mayor, we just got the bills through April from his law firm, and we paid those this week. And so for the rest of the fiscal year, I kind of just took an average of January through what I had from April and spread that out for the last 2 months to decide what we're going to have left is what I did. So
But
I
will
took
give
into
you a
account
running total.
what's coming and what we already paid. I already took
And
into
that's a
account.
fair ask, Mayor, and we will provide that. And, hopefully, and we've talked about this, Tim and I, not to overwhelm you, Tim, you've had a long meeting today, but, the goal is to get, this board is required by statute to approve all expenditures every month. Once the new budget is in place, it's actually not required until the new budget is in place. And we are working towards that goal. We're also working towards our own internal budget auditing system so we can provide you to-the-day reports. So what we envision at some point is this board is approving expenditures on a monthly basis, and this board is approving expenditures on a monthly basis. They're approving all the warrants. They're approving everything that goes out. That is then certified and then goes to the comptroller to be paid out unless it's audited by the city at some point. So everything is a work in progress. We would love, I think, to do things in a way that produce quicker results and whatnot, but like I said before, these guys are working their tails
My
off.
request is that we have I had suggested bi-weekly, monthly would be, I think, adequate,
I'm not
but
going to provide you bi-weekly. I don't do that for any of my clients.
we
It's outside my
just said
contract.
monthly would be
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah,
Mr.
we'll do
Gravel?
that.
Sure, I said I'd requested that, but monthly I think would be adequate. But I would request that since this is through February, it sounds like through March and April have already been submitted to the department. Can we share those as well with the board? Because they are not in this packet.
We will share them. They've been shared with the public pursuant to multiple sunshine requests and subpoenas, so absolutely no problem.
Okay, so then,
By the next
was there a reason why they weren't presented here today?
I have no idea. That the accounting for my firm may have sent those bills out. I'll have to talk to Tim about it. It sounds like Tim just estimated it.
No, Tim said he paid out through April.
What's your name, Debbie?
Debbie sent you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just unfortunate we don't have the most up-to-date. It would be appreciated if you could forward that as soon as is feasible for you. My other question with regards to the legal issues, we all saw the judgment in 22nd Circuit Court yesterday related to the lawsuit filed by the Board of Police Commissioners against the city, asserting that the RAM settlement funds and our reserve funds are general revenue. The city won that case, and it was indicated in the media that the Board of Police Commissioners intends to appeal. Can you tell me who has been in the discussions related to that appeal to this point? Because I was not aware of any discussions related to an appeal.
Well, first off, I think anything related to litigation we have to do in an executive session. This isn't on the agenda for today, and I don't want to get into too much detail. I will tell you that we've been working very cooperatively with the Solicitor General's office throughout this. They intend to appeal as well. They intervened in the case with the city's permission on it. So it will be appealed regardless of what we do, because the Attorney General is appealing it on behalf of the state. I think a lot of people anticipated that this could be the resolution of this out of the circuit court. And I think if you look at the police officer cases, and this has been my discussion with the board consistently, is these cases, the way the statute is set up, it's a direct appeal to the Supreme Court. These cases, the Cervantes case, the case that we think is directly on point by the Missouri Supreme Court, have all been decided by the Missouri Supreme Court. And so I think when I presented this and talked to it, just generally speaking, you know, having clarity is really, I've defined clarity as having the Supreme Court rule on defining this statute. And so, because that's always been the path for state-controlled police boards, there's this special statute, which is the statute that has been taken up by police boards. It's not final and binding precedent until the Supreme Court makes a final decision on it. So I think the idea was more based on the statute, which says you have to file it in circuit court, and then it's a direct appeal to the Missouri Supreme Court, and it's the totality of the processes. That's really where I think we get final clarity on the law.
It was helpful to hear some of the background. It was just alarming, or it just was wanting some clarification, I should say, on that decision. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other commissioner?
I would just like to say thank you, Chris, and your law firm, because I don't know where we would be without your support. This law firm has gone over and above. I think from any other law firm, I don't think would have stepped in like they did, and it's just awesome to work with a whole collaborative team in every aspect. I mean, nobody seen what was going to happen with an HR department. Nobody seen what was going to happen with a law department. Nobody seen what's going to happen with a budget department. And this team was able to fill in and get these departments ship-shape. And I think that this, the budget side is going to be the heavy lift, but I think that in coming months, it's going to be, you know, running just like I explained to everybody. The train's left the station, and we're on a roll. And I think that that's, you could see it in the department when you go out. People really believe in what's going on. And I think that the leadership here of this board we're 100% behind you.
I appreciate that, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention all the work Jennifer's put in. She has done and filled gaps with long days that I appreciate you so much, Jennifer, because I wouldn't have been able to do it without her, and I know you guys like her better than me, and that's fine.
I think he was talking to Jennifer.
I'm pretty sure he was, Commissioner Brown. I've accepted that. So it happens a lot with clients.
Jenkins, Ray.
Attorney Graville, with the rates that you have charged the department, are those normal litigation rates, or?
That question has arisen quite a bit, and I'll just clear the record. I've never charged, so the agreement I have is the same form agreement that I use for all public entities that I represent. We standardized those agreements a couple of years ago. We have a different rate for litigation but it is not applied here. That litigation rate applies when there is insurance, and when you do billing for insurance, it's extremely complicated because you have to do what's called code billing. We do very detailed, as you pointed out, Mayor, descriptions of the work we're doing and what we're working on, so you guys know what we're doing and the public knows what we're doing. But the process of doing code building is expensive. We typically hire somebody that comes in and translates our bills to do it. We're not under insurance. I've never charged that higher litigation rate. I know there's been a lot made on it. If you look at my bills, you will never see that higher litigation rate, but it's a standard rate. But I do charge my other entities that litigation rate for the purposes of, and I've gotten them to agree with it, where it's an additional work for us. We're not set up as a insurance defense firm. That's not what we want to do. So if we're going to do it, we have to recover our costs for that extra billing step.
Any other questions, comments?
I don't see any of the phone calls that I made to you on the weekend in there.
There's a lot of things that we just do for fun.
Any other comments? Yeah, I'll echo those services. I know the one-on-ones that I have with every member of your team, the professionalism, the response times, the answering the phone at different times when there's been issues and trying to work through them. I thank Jennifer, I think Tim, I think Ash, and I think Nate, yourself, Chris. It's you know, I don't want to make this as a guerrilla law firm a commercial by any means, but I do think, as we've done within the department at all times, is recognize the efforts of each department, and you all have been an integral part of us as a board in order to move forward. Whether we've agreed on items or things or any of these issues is irrelevant of the representation and the professionalism you continue to provide to us, and not just me, but the board in itself, in representing the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. You take that very seriously. So for that, we appreciate that. And I will say this, I've never seen, you talk about due diligence. Jennifer's due diligence is off the charts. It's next level, and so, I mean, again, you're right, I do like her more than you.
But we like her more.
But in any case, thank you. There's no further questions. If we can get those billings out, you know, that would be very, very helpful. And again, thanks for everything, and thanks for your support. We'll move to the next item. It's the chief's report. Chief Tracy, I know you were up earlier, but and this has been a pretty extensive morning, so we appreciate you again being here with us.
So good morning, good afternoon right now, everyone. So I always start off with crime to keep us updated. One thing that through the transparency of the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, slmpd/stats.org, please, I encourage the media, I encourage the public, encourage everyone in this room to look at what we're doing when it comes down to overall crime. You can break it down citywide, you can take it down by patrol area, north, central, and south. You can break it down by the districts 1 through 6, and you also can break it down by 88 neighborhoods. So I want everybody to know they could take a look at that. We also have crime mapping, where you can look at crime mapping and see what's happening in real time. Actually, almost it's updated within 24 hours to see what's happening in your neighborhoods. You can geofence those locations. You can go back 6 months. That doesn't do a comparative analysis. That's difficult to do. But through the vendor that we're using, you could take a look by neighborhood, and I encourage people to do that. A better informed public working together to reduce crime. It's a safer city of St. Louis. And with that, you know, I always start off, we get measured by our murder numbers. And then I just want to repeat this. After the first quarter of this year, the first 3 months, we go back 36 years. And we were tied for the second lowest murders in 36 years. I want to keep saying that because there's positive things and progress that's happening. Not for the person that has to deal with that family of the murder victim, but reducing the amount of homicides that are happening in our city and reducing the amount of shooting incidents. Those are the things, leveraging technology, leveraging NIBIN, leveraging all the other things that we have in the Real-Time Crime Center, and then working with the community, and then the great work that's being done by our men and women of this department, both civilian and sworn, that we talked about trying to compensate today. And they certainly deserve much higher pay, and we're not going to get back into that, but I've made my points earlier on how to make sure that we can go to the next level in this police department. Overall crime, we're down 4% in the city, but where we stand with homicides this year, as of today, CompStat will put you on Sunday night, we have 46 murders this year versus 63 last year, versus 76 in 2024. Versus 75 in 2023, versus 71 in 2022, and versus 79 in 2021. And then and then if you look for where we finished the year, we're almost down half from where we were in 2020. A lot of progress, but certainly a lot more work to do. And then I use 2022 as our base mark of the methodology of CompStat, the work that I ask our command staff to do and our officers and civilian staff to do to drive these results under this CompStat methodology, business management principles applied to police work. If you take a look from 2022, that's the baseline, came into 2023, instituted a lot of these things that we're doing now. We're down over 40% in overall crime in this city, down 40%, and we're down over 40% when it comes to overall shooting incidents and shooting victims, and down well over 60% when it comes to juveniles. So we're making sure that we're doing good things, trying to work with juveniles, prevent them from getting involved, work with the criminal justice system, the juvenile justice system, and working with our Circuit Attorney Gabe Gore to make sure we can help drive these results. So those are the numbers that we have. I talked about leveraging technology, and that's where I want to go next, just to update people on drones. But I want to leave it open if anybody has any questions about overall crime.
Any commissioners have any questions on the crimes that
I got to congratulate you and your staff to have 56 commanders under you watching over this entire city. I guess I should say underpaid commanders, to do the job they do, and crime keeps going down. My hat's off to you, Chief, to you, Lieutenant, and everybody in the room that helps us make us a better city, so thank you.
And if we think about where even the crime's going from 2022, overall in the city, I gave citywide numbers, that's almost in every neighborhood in the city. But let's talk about where the investment and where the money's coming in, the businesses want to stay. We want business to stay, new business coming in, convention, tourism, and we want our own residents to feel safe coming downtown. We're down about 60% overall crime in downtown area. We're down almost 60% down in crime in central West End, which is right here. When it comes to, central West End is about 50%. Midtown is about 50%, and then downtown west, where we are right now, is down about 60%. So it's happening all over the city. We're trying to balance with the amount of officers we have, not take too much from one area, make sure that we're building the trust in those areas, and we're giving the right type of policing. And our number one thing, Commissioner Brown, is we have to answer calls for service. And the amount of calls for service get for the amount of officers, and sometimes people say, you get more officers per capita. All right, I've been hit with that question. But I always asked an investigative reporter, I said, have you talked about calls for service? Have you talked about violent crime? I said, certainly comparing cities, you have to add those things in there. The area, geography you have to cover. So I always ask them, can you go back and do that work, and let's then have an informed discussion on some of those things. So those are some of the things that I see. But thank you very much for recognizing. I know everybody recognizes the work that they're doing. And then
that run towards the danger when I run away, so I include everybody in that, and the support staff, the civilians.
They do a tremendous job, my Florida Police Department. I've stacked this department, both civilians, command staff, and office against any police department. I'm very proud of them, very proud of the work that, but I've never been in a department this short-staffed to get the results that we're getting now. So that's a tremendous accolade for this police department. But there's diminishing returns, and then there's going to be a certain point we have an opportunity to build off this instead of letting it slide. And that's why I advocate. I would be doing my job, and I know sometimes it can look like it could be contentious or anything else, but it's not. It's just really me advocating the points that I know that's worked in every city that we've turned around. And I've been in these cities to help turn around the cities. Help, because we didn't do it without the community, without the other city workers, without other departments, without the leadership, without elected officials, without community leaders, faith-based community, and also the men and women of the department. So this is not done alone. I recognize that. But we certainly, where it starts, the foremost arm of government is the police department. We touch everybody. We really do. And we're in everybody's homes, good or bad, or around people. And I think it starts there, and then we can build the government out and make sure that we really can build off the good things that are happening right now. So without any, I'll get right into the technology and give you an update on the drones. Is that okay, Chair?
Yes.
All right. So last week in a special called meeting, and I apologize, I was at a funeral from a former mayor last year, and I was not going to miss it. Last week, in a special called meeting, you voted to approve the purchase of 6 Brink drones, opening the door to cutting-edge technology. Thank you. Thank you. Even with the board's immediate action last week, and this is why there wasn't an immediacy to get the drones started. The immediacy was the competition we had to get the drones and not be put to the end of the line. We are in a waiting list with this company that's a sole source provider that actually does the things that different than other types of drones, and we looked at all of them and decided to go with Brink. And so getting that vote, even as quick as we did last week, actually pushed us back from 90 days to 120 days of getting 2 drones. We eventually want to get 6 drones, and that's where we want to be. This technology has the ability to enhance officer safety. And I talked about this in a meeting. I think I hit almost every news outlet, and if I haven't, I'd be happy to speak to it further with any news outlet that I did not speak to. This technology has the ability to enhance officer safety, improve response to 911 calls, provide critical situational awareness during rapidly evolving incidents, and support of our officers in real-time information when seconds matter the most. This DFR program, which is Drones as First Responders, which stands for Drones as First Responders, I'm getting ahead of my script, and is an initiative that the department will be participating where drones will be responding to some emergency incidents. Some example of these calls for these drones, we've responded from a range from crimes in progress, such as robberies or shootings, as well as disaster situations and large events. On average, a drone can arrive to a scene within 70 seconds. It goes as the crow flies. We have plans to cover 3 patrol areas, north, central, and south. It will start with a 911 call, then a trained FAA-certified operator, which is the CFR 107 exam-tested FAA-certified operator, will launch the drone from the nearest docking station. We'll have live eyes on the scene within 70 seconds. That information could be shared with responding officers. There's an example from Arizona where a drone as a first responder was called to a serious domestic violence standoff where the drone footage resulted in confirming the suspect was armed and possibly preventing a suicide by cop information because we were able to see his hands and make sure he was intimating he had a gun and he wanted the officers to shoot him, and we did not have to take that type of action. Or the officers in that area didn't have to take that type of action. And I also have a quick, as we call it now, PowerPoint, but they call it a deck now, PowerPoint that'll go through it very quickly, if you can indulge me as I finish this, that'll get into some of the things I'm talking about. We'll always safeguard, and I've talked about this in the media, civil liberties of our residents. The Brink drones respond to calls for service and plan police activity. Cameras face forward towards the horizon as drone travels, and not down into yards or homes. The recording stops after the call is resolved. And this is about Brink drones. They are not weaponized. The drones have red and blue flashing lights, making them clearly visible as police drones. We will post nearly every flight with its location and purpose on Transparency dashboard, like I just talked about in the beginning. Transparency, the numbers. This is something we're also going to be doing, and it's going to be under slmpd.org/drones. The footage and flight and data are stored on U.S.-based servers. I'll get into some of these things as we go. Mitch is getting ahead of me, and I'm aware of the board's amendment passed last week regarding policies and procedures. I want to be perfectly clear. The Brink drones are not expected to fly until later this year. We would never deploy these Brink drones without having good guidelines and policy in place that I look at best practices for Commission on Accreditation for law enforcement agencies. We're looking at other police departments that have it in place, from Oklahoma City to Las Vegas to Seattle to Dallas. And we're looking, they have very good policy in place that's been vetted. We're going to take a look at some of those things and make sure that we're in compliance with federal and also Missouri state law. All of the data is properly secured in CJIS, Criminal Justice Information Services, and it's also compliant with them. Here is our next steps. The Aerial Intelligence Unit will be implemented under crime control strategies. We'll be working on a site survey for our radar system that was talked about, and we will lead us to where the drones can be docked. We will adopt policies and procedures for the program. Safeguarding civil liberties of our residents is a #1 priority. We will work with the FAA authorization, including a waiver, allowing us to fly drones from the Real-Time Crime Center. We'll begin installing and training on drones before launching them and implementing our transparency portal. And as of this morning, the Board of Aldermen received information how to connect their neighborhood groups to the Aerial Response Unit, where we will attend with our subject matter experts to community meetings to provide education and how we will use this cutting-edge technology. And what I'd like to do is quickly just go to, I've talked about some of these things, but we have a PowerPoint that we want to put up. Mitch, can you just start with the aerial response, first slide of the deck, if I could turn your attention? All right, but, yeah, but Mitch, quickly go through this, because I want to hit, I'll move on. So you did next steps. Aerial response, go to the next slide, please. All right. I went through a lot of these things. You could see, go to the next one. We'll make this available to everyone. Call comes in, pilot launches, live on the scene, officers get the picture. Go to the next one, situational awareness. DFR and privacy, you can go into that. Built-in communities in mind, these are the things that we'll be talking about. I hit on this, continue. Data at rest, data in transit, and data on governments. You can read into that. Let's go next. Transparency to the next steps. And then we've already checked off board approval right now. These next steps I will be updating as needed at every successive meeting of where we're at. And if something's not changing, if you're not hearing from me, we're still in from my last report out. And then I'd like to go into where we just talked about, where we had a crisis event where it's possible suicide by cop. And Mitch, I'd like to go into that picture. And this situational awareness is incredible. And I can give you a live story of the drones that are used in Wilmington. Had a certain situation where a person wanted the police officers to shoot them, and we were able to make sure that we were get this person the help that they need without causing any more harm. So as you can see, this is a camera that's set up in the Real-Time Crime Center. You have the officers responding. They're surrounding the incident. This person was in crisis. You can see the hand behind the back, and then when you get to see the drone, he's using his finger as a gun, and he's ready to point at these officers. So this is something that a drone can help us. Now you can see from behind, situational awareness. He's ready to pull that. He wants to pull out hand in waistband and to put our officers in a terrible, terrible situation. Unfortunately, when a person has a gun, well, right now they know how they can approach them with non-lethal force and make the arrest on this individual. As you know, if it's very difficult when a person might have a firearm. It's tough to retreat because how far a bullet can go. And in certain situations, was he actually controlled? And then sometimes in settings, whatever weapon you have, we have a lot of people downtown, we have to control the person and then take that. If a drone's there, they can actually see the type of weapon that they have and what type of response we have, instead of making that split-second decision that our officers make that I talked about earlier, where there's criminal and civil liability on every split-second decision that our officers make, that sometimes other cities are recognizing that there certainly should be a premium for the type of work that men and women do in uniform, that other city workers or anyone else do not have that type of responsibility. I appreciate all their other work. I have members of my family, friends, family, even in this community, but certainly when you become a police officer, that's a calling, that's a noble profession, and it certainly comes with a lot more risks than other types of professions. And that's why you're always going to hear me advocate to bring more people in this profession to keep this city safe, because that's what I believe has worked in other places. So I'm very passionate about it. So please, passionate about it, make sure that I try to get the point across, and hopefully some of these things will come to fruition that we talked about earlier today. So with that, any questions on Aerial Response Unit and the Brink drones?
I have one question, I don't think you touched on it. These drones have, what, about a 40-minute time window?
Yes. There are the battery, as they get more advanced, the batteries are very heavy. So as they get advanced with batteries, they might have more time. The size of this drone, I think when they're less than 25 pounds on a CFR 107, is they can go up to 400 feet. But they can only be out there for 40 minutes. And then what happens is that the other drone, if we have to be out there for an extensive amount of time, we can switch out drones, and then the other one, that's why you have two per patrol area. And we could switch them out that can cover it while the other one charges back up, and then we can continue to switch out. And those are the time, if it's an extended period, maybe a hostage situation to get situational awareness, or even when we have to go up and try to look and help look for victims of an EF3 tornado that really can look with thermal imaging, that we can help from above. That would be critical, and a great job that the mayor and her team and the police and the fire department did last year. And I think that could be actually help us out in a situation like that.
Chief? Seeing none, thank you, Chief. Appreciate
Thank
your
you.
report.
Chairman, anything that changes, I will make sure that I get in touch with the secretary, make sure that, or even in the chief's report, I'm here all the
Yeah.
time. I'll add it in as needed.
We'll need a regular agenda update on
Absolutely.
with regards to this Brinks program.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chief. All right, our next item on the agenda is announcements. I'll open the floor for any board member that may have any announcements.
I do. It's been a long day. This announcement is primarily to the command staff. And pretty much it's, I believe that today's decision was disappointing to the command staff. And that they expected a vote from the Board of Commissioners today. But I want to make sure that the command staff understands that the decision to delay the consideration of the salary resolution until June 17th should not be interpreted as opposition to the proposed increases or a lack of appreciation for the work that all of our command staff performs. There is broad recognition of your leadership, experience, and your commitment to this department, and this board appreciates that. The decision, however, reflects the board's responsibility to ensure that significant actions are supported by the information necessary to make informed and sustainable decisions. As stewards of the department, the board has an obligation to dot our I's and cross our T's. Good governance and support of our employees are not mutually exclusive. In fact, they go hand in hand, taking the time to fully understand the proposal and its impact. We ask for your patience as we work through this process, and please know that today's action was about ensuring we get it right and not whether or not you deserve the increases, and you definitely have the support.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate that. Anybody else? Mayor? Seeing none. Commissioner Ortega? Commissioner Brown? All right, I'll close in saying that, again, we appreciate everybody's attendance. The department, we're going to be going on about a year here coming up, and it has certainly been an exciting, fun-filled year. There's been a lot has been accomplished. I think, there's no truer words spoken that the house is a little messy is when you're living in it as you're building it. And so there are times where through the process that we continue to work towards making the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department the best department it can be for our region and for us as a community. And so we thank you all. And again, as Commissioner Jenkins-Gray said, it's important to get it right. So we'll continue to strive for that and be that goal as it may. Appreciate your all attendance today. I'm going to vote to enter into an adjournment. We will not go to closed session. We're going to take so I need a motion to adjourn.
That we adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. I need a second. Second by Commissioner Brown. All in favor? Do we need? Let's take a roll call vote. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I was getting ahead of him. Sorry.
Ready to go?
Yeah, Lieutenant Tully.
Commissioner Saraceno.
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins-Gray.
Aye.
Commissioner Ortega. Aye. Commissioner McVeigh. Aye. Mayor Spencer.
Aye.
All ayes.
Motion to adjourn. Thank you all.